Hello, and welcome to Draft Day. My name is John Fleming. I am one of the hosts of Draft Day. I'm joined by another host of Draft Day, Jason Bradshaw. Jason, how are you?
Oh, John, I tell you, man, I'm doing pretty good. Just had a
Nice.
night out with the family before. Getting terrified because the baby, she started standing up for like multiple seconds before falling down today. So
How
my
it
days
starts.
of, yeah, I mean, it's the zone defense is now officially over. I think on kids. I think my wife are gonna have to go man to man. So
Well,
it,
zone is
you
for
know, but
cowards. You don't want to go that route.
yeah, but it's Friday, so
It is.
and pretty excited as I have a little glass of scotch here in my Star Wars glass, and I think we're gonna have a good time on this episode. And we have a
Yeah,
friend with us.
we do. We scheduled this episode for a Friday so we could be free to have as many drinks as we need for the sake of this episode. But we are joined by our good friend Tyler Cox. It is a crazy draft, so we of course invited Tyler. He specifically, when he saw that this was possibly going to be an episode, he texted me saying that he called dibs on being on this episode. And speaking of calling dibs, that might be a general approach we take on some of our discourse here. But Tyler, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. When I saw that poll go up and I texted John, I never thought it would actually be the draft. So I kind of semi regret ever speaking up and putting my proverbial foot in my mouth. So this is what I get. So
All right.
hopefully I haven't given too much away of what's going to be happening tonight.
Well, I think the title will probably do that trick, but yeah, we are abiding by the results of the poll that we posted, in which we asked people what draft we should do of our ridiculous draft ideas from, I believe, 2 episodes ago. Winner of the poll is the presidential hotness draft. So we are going to be drafting presidents by how hot they are. We never actually decided how many rounds we were going to go, but there are 45 presidents, which is perfectly divisible by 3. So we got a lot of potential here. A lot of time for all sorts of shenanigans and hijinks. And before we get going, though, we're doing something a little bit different here, which is that we have not decided on our draft order. Normally, we have an idea of that going into it, but we have not. So we have decided where I'm going. I'm going to be drafting second out of 3. But the first draftee will be decided by virtue of a little game that we're going to play, Jason versus Tyler. And this is what I'm going to call a slight modification of a game that we all know and love, or at least that we know. A little game show called Hollywood Squares, in which you play tic-tac-toe. Let me explain what we're going to do here. So I have a tic-tac-toe board that I have drawn in paint that I'm going to share with the two of these guys. It is a very beautifully rendered board, so I'm very excited for how much they enjoy it once I figure out how to share it. Assuming I'm able to figure it out how to share it in Discord. Let's see here.
The share your screen button at the bottom.
Yeah, I have that. The share thing is grayed out, which is strange. But I have Chrome tab up. I don't want to do that. Let's just share the whole screen. So, are the two of you able to see this little tic-tac-toe board that is designed very beautifully? I put a lot of work into it.
Oh, gorgeous, man.
Thank you very much.
See here.
All right,
Yep, I got you.
We'll revisit it from time to time, but what we're going to do essentially is I am going to, and this is a little bit of a callback to a previous episode that we did. This is going to be a presidential movie trivia contest. It's not movies about the presidency, but it's about what the favorite movies of presidents are. So I have a list of, there are a total of 14 presidents who have gone on record about what their favorite movie is. and I have them listed, and I'm going to draw them at random. So 2 of them actually have the same favorite movie. So I'm going to say the movie, and you have to guess who the president is. Now, obviously, you can kind of narrow it down. For instance, George Washington, who died in 1799, never went on record about his favorite movie because he was a coward. But he is actually not a coward. He's actually one of the distinctly less cowardly presidents. But I will share a movie with you, and what I'm going to do is I will allow one of you to guess, and you just have to name a president. And if you're wrong, we go to the next person, and we keep going back and forth until somebody gets it, and then we decide and whoever gets the first decide whether they're circles or X's, I suppose. Hadn't really thought that one through. Do either of you happen to know by chance, and this is completely out of nowhere, what Kamala Harris's favorite movie is? She's on the record about this one. I can give you a hint that might put you in the right direction.
I mean,
I have a guess, but
Okay, let's hear it.
so go
I'll
for it.
go The Color Purple.
That is incorrect. So Kamala Harris's favorite movie is the hint that I'm going to give is that it's a little bit. It makes sense if you consider what her previous pre-politics profession was, because this is a movie that is like kind of like notoriously very popular among people who are in this profession. It is a comedy. It has come up on draft day before. We have I believe on an episode with all 3 of us have discussed this movie before, at least briefly.
Okay, let's see. She was a lawyer, right?
Yes.
So, comedy law. I'm gonna go liar, liar. Then
That's incorrect.
it's a law comedy.
I know what it is. I know what it is.
What is it?
My Cousin Vinny.
That's correct.
It's a half comedy.
So I will give you. So because you got that one right, Tyler, I will allow you to. So since we're talking about presidents of the United States of America, Tyler, I want you to guess how many total streams the song "Peaches" by Presidents of the United States of America has on Spotify, and then Jason can go over or under. If you happen to get it exactly correct, I'll just give it to you.
Let's go 170 million.
Okay, Jason, are you going over or under 170 million? I will say that is not exactly correct. No, that's shocking to hear.
Yeah, I thought for sure he was gonna get it right. He said 100 and how many?
170 million.
That seems high. I'll say it's under that. I'll go lower if we're going card sharks terms.
So it was actually I think it was a pretty good guess to start off. It's 143 million though. So honestly, considering you were doing it cold, I applaud it. But Jason gets to go first. Jason, which square on the board do you want to try to go for first?
Let's go middle right.
Middle right. Okay. The presidential movie that I have. Which president's favorite movie is The Searchers? It is a Western from 1956, I want to say.
Yeah. So
It's a John Ford film starring John Wayne. Yeah. It is 1956.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. Has Natalie Wood, Jeffrey Hunter.
I will say that is the favorite movie of. I'll say Lyndon Johnson. That's his favorite movie.
You nailed it.
Let's go.
That's impressive.
All right. You going to be X's or O's?
I'll be X's.
Okay.
He just strikes me as a little bit of a country boy.
That's accurate, yes.
So.
All right, Tyler, you are up. Or O's.
Let's go. Let's go bottom right.
Bottom right. Okay. Next up is, speaking of westerns, I believe also directed by John Ford, High Noon,
Okay.
1952, I believe.
Okay.
Which president's favorite film is High Noon?
Let's go. Let's go Nixon.
Nixon is incorrect, and also High Noon's not directed by John Ford. I was incorrect there. Fred Zinnemann, but Nixon is incorrect. Jason, what is your guess?
Eisenhower.
Dwight Eisenhower or Bill Clinton would have been correct, so you have got that one as well.
What is going
Dang.
on? To be fair, Nixon
All
and
right.
Eisenhower were kind of like the two in my head, and you picking
Yeah.
tricky dick
So
helped.
I actually thought Eisenhower, but then I was like, no, what if this is like a trick question where it's like a later president? So, anyways,
Turns out it's like Calvin
wrong.
Coolidge or somebody as an old man
Yeah.
really liked it.
Exactly.
All right. Jason, you are up.
I mean, I got to go top right. Let's go for the sweep.
This could be a quick game, or it could be Tyler getting the block. Let's see. The film that I pulled up is Viva Zapata.
Oh, okay.
Starring Marlon Brando. I do not know who the director is, but
Dear Lord.
it is directed by Elia Kazan.
I don't know. It seems like such a bougie pick. So I'll say Reagan.
Reagan is incorrect.
Dang it.
Tyler,
There.
you are up.
Is it sad if
What
I
was the year
relieve-
again?
Viva Zapata, 1952, so same year as High Noon.
Okay.
It would help if I knew anything about this movie, I feel like.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, like I've heard of it, but I don't have a lot of knowledge of it.
I know Brando was in it. I think that was about all I knew before you said it.
Well, I kind of like Jason's direction of like bougie. So the next close to bougie I could think of, let's go Kennedy.
Kennedy is incorrect. So we are back to Jason.
Okay. Let's think that time period. I don't know. Let's get crazy here. I'll say it's Joe Biden's favorite movie.
That is incorrect. And you know what? I'll have Tyler. Tyler gets one more guess. If he's incorrect, then we're actually going to table that one. Just to kind of keep things interesting, we'll let Tyler pick a new number if he gets this one wrong. Pick a number regardless, but
All right, then let's go. Let's just go. Let's go Gerald Ford.
Gerald Ford is incorrect. Tyler, I'm going to guess that I know where you want to go here.
Yeah,
your,
it's pretty
position?
obvious. Yeah, top right.
Yeah, top right. Okay. Whose favorite film is the 1946 film It's a Wonderful Life? You may have heard of it. Frank
Time was
Capra.
one, so it
Jimmy
could be
Stewart.
anybody, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Obviously, there's a hard cap of presidents who were not alive in 1946.
Right.
It's not FDR's favorite movie. But
I think I actually have some direction with this film based on the type of people I know that love this film. So I'm going to go with Jason's original guess on his last pick, and I'm going to go Reagan.
that is correct. I figured, well, since Reagan was an actor, I figured it could kind of go a lot of different directions with him. But he goes with a safe but solid choice. Kind of hard to, It's a Wonderful Life's not my favorite film, but it is a very good film.
Yeah, it's good. My father-in-law loves it. That's his favorite movie around the holidays. So
All right, Jason, you are back up.
Okay. Let's go left middle.
Left middle. We are back to a much more recent movie, the 1989 film Field of Dreams.
I'll say George W. Bush.
The former baseball team owner is correct, George W. Bush.
I mean, that was just sort of the
Felt
logical.
like a layup.
Yeah, that one. I mean, him or his dad. It was going to be one of the two, probably.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tyler, would you like to go middle?
I would.
Go for the block? Okay.
John, I would just like
Yeah,
to say
done
you're
that.
doing great as the Tom Bergeron of this.
Thank you. All right. Next up is a film that you may have heard of before. It is from the year 1972. It is our second Marlon Brando starring movie, a little film called The Godfather.
Mm.
Whose favorite film is The Godfather?
John Fleming.
Well, I am not the president yet.
All
My
right. I'm
first
starting
year
to
of
kind of
being
feel like
eligible.
I feel like I'm starting to get kind of an idea on these. I'd get another one that I could find like all these presidents liking because it just seems like it's just such a guy film.
That's a
Let's
good movie.
go. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I don't love it, but I keep falling on Bill Clinton.
He was already
Bill
answered.
Clinton is. Bill
Was he
Clinton was
already
already
in? Was he
answered.
already guessed?
He
Oh,
was
that's
the
right.
Eisenhower one.
Eisenhower. Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Clinton is incorrect.
Well, yeah.
Just because I think it'll be funny if it is the answer. I'm gonna say Nixon.
I mean, perfectly reasonable guess, but it is incorrect.
I mean, it came out while he was president, so I don't know how many movies the presidents are watching in their time, but
And there's no
they
rule
don't-
saying that you have to have seen the movie when it came out either.
well, the thing we don't know is you say that they're on record. We don't know if they were on record while in office or if this was like years later. So
Yeah. I will say, I don't want to give away too much, but there is one of these where the movie came out after they were president. So, at least the possibility of it. I will say that in this particular case, it is not after they were president.
Okay.
Which might actually be impossible based on the fact that we've said Lyndon Johnson and Dwight Eisenhower, I think. So,
Yeah. All right.
All right, Tyler, you're up.
I'll just go Biden.
Joe Biden is incorrect. He had kind of a rough 1972. Maybe he wasn't watching a lot of movies that year.
So is this the last shot at it before we redo it?
We'll table
Again.
it if you don't get it.
I will say James Earl Carter.
That is incorrect. I will say, so I am thinking about this as an aside. I think every president since The Godfather came out has probably seen The Godfather, right? Like it would be weird if it like turned out that like George W. Bush had never seen The Godfather.
I mean, I guess it just depends. I don't know how many movies they watch, but like even if they've seen a few, I feel like The Godfather is one
of those canonical. It's also like a movie about like rich guys in power. Like it really speaks to the presidential experience.
Well, I mean, they literally like Vito literally wants Michael to like go into politics, right? If I remember the film correctly. So,
all right, Jason, you are up.
Middle,
to go for middle. All right. I believe this is the most recent film on the list by 1 year. It is from 1990. It is starring Joe Pesci. It is Home Alone. Whose favorite movie is Home Alone?
All right. I don't know if this is going to be the answer, but given the fact that he's in the movie, I'll say Donald Trump just because he's in Home Alone
Donald
2.
Trump's in Home Alone 2.
2, but the
But
series.
yes, it is not. It is incorrect, but
Fake news.
all right, Tyler, you're up.
It's such a playful movie, so I'm gonna go Barack Obama.
Barack Obama is incorrect.
I thought the kids would have got him.
Also takes place in Chicago.
Good point. Rich family in Chicago. Who knows what Mr. McAllister is really doing? Just saying. I don't know. I'm not gonna say. I'll say Joe Biden.
Joe Biden is incorrect. All right, Tyler, one more guess until we move on.
I'm guessing this might be the film after the president based on the guys that have been picked, unless it's Bush Sr. So I'm gonna go. It just seems like a movie he'd like. I'm gonna go Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter is incorrect. Seems like a movie he would like, though. I will give you that. All right, Tyler.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know that I trust anybody who doesn't like Home Alone.
Sure, yeah.
Or at least come away seeing how much of a psychopath that Kevin McAllister is.
Yes. All right, Tyler, you sticking with the middle?
Yeah, no choice.
All right. This is a film from 1962. It is the film Dr. No. The first James Bond film.
Bond. Okay.
I don't know. Let's just go Nixon.
Nixon is incorrect.
That would be funny given that a spy movie being his favorite movie. I'll give you that.
Nixon had some interesting takes. There's a whole thing that I read earlier this week about how apparently he was pretty into rap, in the 90s, which is incredible to consider. But
So was he Tupac or Biggie?
I think they kind of broke through a little bit after he died. But I can see him being a Run DMC guy, the kind of rap that old white guys are into. All right, Jason, you're up.
Let's see. No, man. I mean, this is a very old white guy movie to say you like. So I feel like it could be a lot of guys.
We have had a lot of old white guys as president. So
yeah, I mean, not saying that it couldn't be Obama's favorite, but
sure.
I will say. I'll say. Yeah, we'll just go right after Nixon. I'll say Gerald Ford.
Gerald Ford is incorrect. All right, Tyler. You are up.
I'll go George H.W. Bush.
George H.W. Bush is incorrect.
All right, I will go. I'll say Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter is incorrect. All right, Jason.
Middle.
If you want to change up the number and try to change your luck, you're welcome to do so.
No,
All right.
I got. Or you know what? Well, nah.
There's no strategic reason for you to do so. Just to be clear, but all right.
I mean, there's actually a strategic reason, given the way we're playing this, for Tyler not to go for the block right away. Actually, he could try to go to set himself up to win. I'm just saying, if Tyler gets to pick again, I would go lower left if I were you, Tyler. Then we could say middle wins. If you get it.
Oh, that'd be violent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But if I get
Jason.
it, then I got 3 outs.
All right, Jason, your film from 1946. This one is a John Ford movie starring Henry Fonda. It is My Darling Clementine.
Good.
His favorite film is My Darling Clementine.
Missouri's own Harry. The S stands for nothing. Truman.
What did I just do, Jason? What did I just do?
I believe that I just walked it off, y'all.
Walk it off. Harry S. Truman wrecked. This is a movie that I've actually never heard of before. Looks pretty good though.
Me neither. I was
Good
purely
review.
going on year, and just the remaining men didn't necessarily feel like a 1940s film would be their favorite. So,
All right. Well, I feel like I gotta polish off the list. So the movies that we covered that nobody, so Doctor No, that was presumably only for a year, but it was John F. Kennedy's favorite movie. Home Alone was the favorite movie presidency of Gerald Ford.
wow.
Uh,
Gerald Ford.
And then The Godfather was the favorite movie of Barack Obama. The other favorite movies out there, Joe Biden's favorite movie is Chariots of Fire, which is like a perfectly Joe Biden favorite movie to have, like a very, very like middle of the road. Like it's fine, but like that's really your favorite movie. Gone with the Wind is Jimmy Carter's favorite movie. Richard Nixon's favorite movie is Patton. And Donald Trump's favorite movie, because there is no irony in the world, is Citizen Kane. All right. But Jason is the victor.
Lead
Thanks
the
for
way.
letting me have a win, Tyler.
Hey.
All right.
Boy. All right, Jason, you have the first pick. Who is the hottest president?
I got 45 beautiful men to choose from. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get out of this. There you go, close stream. Sorry.
Yeah, I almost forgot to close down my my sharing of the screen, which would have made this a very boring draft whenever I go.
Would have made this really awkward when we just see that John's actually just watching reruns of Designing Women while we're doing this.
I mean, there's a lot of references to Bill Clinton on that show, so
there are
somewhat of a presidential show.
So this may be a hot take. I don't think I would just like the caveat. None of us are taking ourselves too seriously in this draft. But like, if I'm looking at like, okay, I'm not. I think
I'm taking this.
I mean, I just ranked 46 presidents. I took it pretty seriously.
I mean,
hopefully you ranked 45, unless you did like first term Grover Cleveland, second term Grover Cleveland.
Yeah,
I did.
He really that second term boy. He had gone downhill after being gone for 4 years. But no, number one, I'm going Teddy at 1. He's just a
Roosevelt?
Well, no, Teddy Bridgewater.
Pendergrass.
But I mean, a dude who's just like, like a ruggedly handsome man with a great mustache.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like, I don't know, in a way when it was like, I know we don't swear a ton here, but this term, like, I think it's like, dude was a legitimate badass, like across the board.
Absolutely. Like we're like, obviously when we make these draft picks, we're not drafting based on like necessarily like how great of a president they are or whatever. Not that he's considered a bad president or anything, but like the fact that like also like so much of his stuff is also like stuff that's associated with like being very masculine and very like cool, and
but then he was also super into conservation, which today would be seen as like not manly. But like a guy, stood by his convictions though, like was passionate about what he was passionate about. And it wasn't insane, stupid things that he was passionate about. Maybe that helps. But I mean, the mustache.
I believe he had a pet alligator. I'm not sure that all of his things were sane, but
well, no, but I don't think
he
was
cool
like
guy though.
Yeah, I mean, just like, and like I said, though, like it's a great mustache. And to be fair, if there's one thing that American presidents throughout history do have going for them, there's some pretty bomb facial hair. Also some pretty terrible facial hair.
Yes.
but just always was a good-looking guy to me, and and maybe part of the attractiveness and hotness is I would grab a beer with this dude and just listen to him talk.
Oh
I
yeah,
feel like
he is high. He is very high up on the would grab a beer with list.
Yeah,
as far as presidents, he might be number one. I'd have to think about it, but he's in the conversation for sure. Yeah.
Do we want to share, because I'm sure we're all over the place on our list, do we want to share where we had each president ranked when someone mentions it? Just this kind of
I think you can if you like to.
Yeah. I had Teddy fourth. He was up there, but he was not my number one.
So we'll get to this whenever I pick, but I had him 18th because I strictly went off of one photo, and it's what's on whitehouse.gov. And I didn't muddy the waters. It's just, here's your photo, and this is what I'm judging it off of. But if you want to get into some of the Teddy stuff, I mean, the guy literally gave up boxing when he became president because he didn't think it was presidential to have a black eye. But personally, I think that would have been even more of the badassery to the legacy of Teddy.
And can you imagine being the guy? It's I gave Teddy Roosevelt a black eye in our boxing match last week.
When you said black eye, I definitely heard it as something else, and I was
sorry about my accent. That's my accent.
That's problematic. No, it's all right. Teddy also has the advantage of being the youngest president ever.
Yeah,
doesn't hurt.
I would say that the youngest elected president will probably come off the board relatively soon.
Probably.
He will, however, not be coming off the board right now. So this was actually a guy that was not really on my radar, but I looked at a picture of him and I was like, man, this guy's kind of got everything. He's got just beautiful piercing eyes. He's got a great head of hair. Has a very cool backstory as well. And also an awesome beard. The S in Ulysses S. Grant stands for snack, folks. That is a good-looking man. Look, I don't excuse the whole fact that he owned slaves. That's not great. Let me be very clear. I think if any president atoned for the fact that he owned slaves, probably leading the Union Army is a pretty not the worst way to make up for that, but in terms of just sheer hotness, that is it's a strong contender. And also, so another thing that I kind of did passingly as I was doing this was I looked at how old these guys were when they were president. Ulysses Grant was 46 years old when he was elected president. It's so crazy to think that you don't think of Ulysses S. Grant as being a super young president, but that's the age that Obama was when he got elected. It's just wild how, and the fact that Kamala Harris is people are talking about her she's so young. She would be 60 when she got inaugurated. She would be among the older presidents. And that whole window has just shifted so much. But Grant is a very ruggedly handsome man, and I'm very happy to take him here.
It is a very good beard. I mean, he's one that, maybe just stick to the pure appearances for him. But, I mean, I can't fault you. And his picture on whitehouse.gov, because I decided to pull it up because I wanted to see what Tyler was seeing. I did it kind of by Google's pictures they had up of him, which I will give you that Teddy's picture on Google is better than his picture on whitehouse.gov. I'll give you that. The mustache is not as, kept in his photo, but,
yeah, I gotta pull up this whitehouse.gov list because I looked at Wikipedia whenever I wasn't just purely going off the picture, but that was inevitably the thing that was inspiring me.
Grant has a good picture, and he looks like he's giving you eyes a little bit. He's kind of raising an eyebrow a little bit, you want to know something?
I definitely think I rated Grant too low. I had him at 12. But he does have a very clean picture, even on whitehouse.gov. Everything just seems so fitting. He's kind of got just a, I don't know, nice, in a weird way, kind of a soft face, but at the same time, a little bit of ruggedness.
That's actually the photo that's on Wikipedia is the one, or at least a very similar looking one. But
he in that photo, he very much looks like a guy that if you saw him across the room, you're like, oh, that dude's been through some shit, and I'm not going to talk to him.
He's also the guy that you look at and been I bet you when he was younger, he, had a lot of women who were like
He's
fawning
swayed,
after
yeah.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he
I've
looks
been
like a
to
guy
his,
who's like
been to his farm multiple times. I mean,
yeah. He's a good-looking guy, but also he looks like the kind of guy that like is kind of pulling above his weight at like a bar. And like some jealous guy is looking at him being like, "Come on, he ain't nothing." But that guy's wrong. So,
he's got some confidence in that face, I think, is what we're
oh
getting at.
yeah,
Which, I mean, every president probably should have confidence
Yeah.
on their face. Or
I mean he won the Civil War. He was an objectively not very good president who got reelected and was extremely popular. I don't blame him for being confident.
me neither.
All right, Tyler, you're up.
All right. Well, maybe it's the safe pick, but it's my number one pick. John kind of alluded at it earlier. I mean, I'm getting him at 3. Give me Barack Obama.
Huh?
Maybe it's our generation. Maybe it's because of most presidents we've heard his voice compared to some presidents pre a certain time. There's just a suaveness. There's just a good smile. Seen more of him. Seen more angles. It's kind of unfair compared to the other presidents where I'm only basing it off of a single photo where I have audio visual over the years,
Yeah.
but it doesn't take anything
And
away
often-
from Barack.
And often a black and white photo too. It's often not like we've obviously seen him in much clearer detail than most presidents.
I would say it's a safe pick on my part, but I think I'm assuming you guys at least had him like minimum top 10.
I had him at 6.
Yeah, he has 5 on my list. So
Yeah, we're in the general. I had to take off some points for the ears. Just he does have notably big ears, but 1,000-watt smile. Definitely a good looking.
it's the voice, man.
He's aging He's aging rapidly though. Like
Mm.
him at the DNC this week looked like he didn't look bad, but like you could clearly tell that he was in his 60s now. Whereas Michelle Obama looks younger somehow. Not sure how that worked out, but good for him, I guess.
She's sucking his soul, and like kind of like the witches in Hocus Pocus. So he's getting older, but she could stay young.
Sure.
Well, one of them smokes.
That's a good point. Good point. I guess I've never heard that Michelle Obama doesn't smoke. I mean, I guess I just assume that people don't smoke unless I hear otherwise, but maybe that's incorrect of me.
I would go out on a limb to say I bet you just about every single president, at least while in office, was like smoking fairly actively just as a stress relief.
Yeah, it's probably a relatively recent development of presidents not smoking or not drinking. Like the last 2 presidents are on record of saying they don't drink, and I tend to believe them. But I assume that like the first like 30 presidents, basically every president up to like Prohibition was probably just hammered, and even beyond that, I'm just a little less confident of it, but still probably.
Yeah.
Like Grant was definitely an alcoholic.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, you're up.
All right. I'll stay safe again. I'll take JFK at 4.
Yeah, I gotta say, I cannot believe he made it to the second round, but
yeah, he was number 2. I have the top 2 on my list, so I'm pretty happy about that.
I will also be getting the top 2 on my list because JFK was my number 3.
But I mean,
JFK was 3 for me.
He was, Kennedy, obviously a guy who maybe more alluded to than any other president for his looks, I think.
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe probably having something to do with that, but
I would actually make the case that JFK is a little bit overrated on the looks department, which isn't to say that he's the wrong pick here. It's just that he is like, I feel like he's the canonical answer.
Yeah.
But as a second round pick, I can't dispute it.
Yeah. Well, and at the time, media was kind of more. I mean, he's a guy who, not to get too political here, but obviously the debates between Nixon and him, so much of it came down to the visualization because on the radio, most people thought Nixon had a better debate. But on television, because Kennedy was more well presented, better groomed, wasn't sweating like Nixon was, people that were watching it. So it's really when kind of that strategy started to change, and they're like, oh well, look at him. I mean, now we have people saying, look at this other guy, but it's literally just saying, look how ugly or terrible or whatever they're doing, and it's like it's not the same. It's basically say politics is a mess in this country and probably around the world. But
Maybe this is unfair, but I know JFK, dude had a horrible back.
That's
So I
true.
bet you that guy had terrible posture that we never saw. And I'm sure all the things that we see of him are just so, what am I trying to say? Like photo opt to where everything looks good.
Yeah.
I would like to see
Surely
him
I'm
in a
not.
more like candid angle.
Surely I'm not the only one that had a real like kind of crisis of confidence when ranking FDR on here for similar reasons.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's
Like,
I tried to just keep the headshot in.
yeah, for the most part, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like, I mean, there's some, very beautiful people in wheelchairs, like, that are far better looking than I am. FDR may
yeah,
be
for
one
sure.
of those people. Like, let's be honest. Like, but
He's
you
not
know.
last on my list. I'll tell you that much.
No,
Yeah.
there was a last may have been one of the easiest spots for me to put on this
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
I have a bottom three that is, I think the bottom three stands out really strong.
So the problem is now, and whenever we get to this person, I'll talk about it. But like now that I'm looking at the list that Tyler was, there's one person that, because of where their picture is in relation to all the presidents around them, that like is jarring to me, and I can't stop looking at it. And I don't know if it's in a good way or a bad way. So I'm like having to look at my list now and rethink things. But
Well, John, you want to tell us who you got?
yeah, who's your number two, bro?
So one comment that I will make before I go on to mine is that I think JFK also has like kind of the weird advantage of like pretty obviously he's like the youngest dead president. So like we never saw him old and decrepit. Like he was like pretty good looking like the day he died. And I'm also going with a guy that died in office. A genuinely terrible president. Seems like a pretty rotten guy, but man, that guy's got some nice eyebrows, nice jawline. I'm going Warren Harding.
Shockingly good looking man.
Yeah, like I guess it's because like he was like cartoonishly corrupt that he doesn't have a great amount of like people speaking favorably of him at this point. Like, you know how like corrupt you have to be a president from the 20s that served for like 2.5 years and people still remember you as just being like a complete doofus. But guy got it. Also might have been murdered by his wife, depending on what conspiracy theories you go into. But I'll go with
Conspiracy
Mr.
theory.
Harding.
If you've never dove into that conspiracy theory, it is a fantastic one. If you go deeper and deeper in the rabbit hole, just throwing that out there. But yeah, like definitely a dude who looks like after presidency he could have been like had like a job as like a television host. Just like had that very kind of like interviewer type look to him.
He would have had to wait a while until they really had television shows, but yeah, I mean,
I'm saying all things considered, but
he could have been in some movies.
Yeah,
could have done like newsreels.
So he could have been like, I don't know. He definitely has like the eyebrows, like scream like obviously this is far before him, but like James Bond villain. He's got a James Bond villain look to him.
He does.
Things hadn't worked out with his wife. He could have started dating like Clara Bow or somebody like that. I think he could have pulled it off.
I mean,
Harding for me was putting on here. Like there was at times where I'd look at his phone, I'd be like, "Yeah, he's top 10," and then there's other times where something about his face was so that going off the WhiteHouse.gov photo, that stare, that look in the camera is so menacing. It's almost like kind of like, man, I like feel like
it's a
you
little
can see through
intimidating,
me.
yeah.
And it kind of knocked him down to 16 for me, but I still don't think 16 out of 46 is bad by any means. But
Honestly,
he's
kind
like
of
one of those
balances well
presidents.
with Grant, I think. With
Yeah,
my other picks, where it's like one guy's got a very soft kind of easygoing demeanor, even though he's like literally a war hero, and then another guy just looks like he's gonna fight you.
all right. Well, I'm loving this because I'm finding out that clearly I don't have the same taste as you guys. Because I still got my number 2 on the board.
Nice.
And this president is famous for exiting his presidency, walking out of the White House and looking to his, I believe it was his vice president, but someone who was next to him, they asked him basically, what do we do now? And he said, there's nothing left to do but get drunk. So I'm going with
Nice.
Franklin Pierce at number 6, second overall, or second round.
I was kind of surprised by how good looking he was, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
Also by far the best looking president during like that run of presidents.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not higher on my list because the hair threw me a little unkept
Yeah.
for my tastes. I mean, as you guys see the way my hair is, I very much like a very clean style, and his like I think he'd be a little radical with that hair nowadays.
You know what I think he reminds me of, and why I kind of rate him higher, and this is me kind of going against me just basing it off the photo, is he gives me the vibes of that of like a English literature teacher in like the early 1900s who's got a little bit of a rough side, but the girls like him because he can quote Shakespeare on a whim, but his hair, he's always like a little unkempt, but that's what makes him kind of good looking, and that's kind of where I went with him at number 2.
Dude definitely had tweed jackets, like for sure.
Oh yeah.
I think he was from New England too, so it really fits like this. I think he's from like New Hampshire or something, or Vermont or something. Like fits like the full stereotype of what he was.
Well, thanks guys for letting me take my top 2 picks.
Yep, I got my top 2 as well. I'm delighted.
Guys, this is going to be kind of weird, but I think I'm actually going to get my third one as well.
Nice.
Good for you.
And this one, I have a feeling might be lower on list, but there's something about this guy. I kept coming back to him, and he kept just kind of climbing the list as I was refining. And his dad arguably may be more famous because he was also president for a very short amount of time. But Benjamin Harrison, there's something about him.
It's his grandpa, I should say. But
Grandpa, sorry, not father, grandfather. But
okay.
Yeah,
Benjamin Harrison was number 7 on my list. That's a good pick.
He is like, he's got, he's got a solid kind of goatee and then like thinned out the beard a little bit as you go up. But like, I mean, this whole episode's weird, so I might as well just say like what I think. Like, he just looks so kind of like grandfatherly a little bit. Like, just looks nice, like a nice guy. But also, like, he's the grandpa that you have a ton of fun with, but the second you get out of line, he, like, raises his voice and you, like, straighten up kind of a thing. And I don't know why. He just kept climbing up, because it's, for being in the time frame that he was in again, just, there's a lot of more unkept facial hair after Grant, I feel like, and he kind of brought it back in, and maybe I just have a thing for men in that time, with him not being too far removed from Roosevelt, but
Sure.
Why not?
There aren't a lot of presidents that I know less about than Benjamin Harrison. Like, even though he's like has the notable fact of being the grandson of a president, and the fact that the fact that Cleveland had his 2 terms bookending him, but I just don't know a lot about him, so I wasn't really thinking much of him whenever I was doing these rankings. And yet, yeah, he's a kind of just like, I don't know that he necessarily has any distinguishing features that really stand out to me, but he just kind of does everything well. Like, just kind of like a very put together guy. Like, I don't know what his personality was like, but if you combine that guy with a good personality, he's gonna do well.
So, also a short king. This man only stood 5'6". So, and also I think his election, if I remember right, is pretty crazy because I think he lost popular vote to Cleveland, but cleaned his clock in the Electoral College. Like,
that sounds right. Yeah,
I'm gonna look it up here. Yeah, it says that he received 100,000 fewer popular votes than Cleveland, but carried the Electoral College 233 to 168.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah, not even especially close.
Yeah, like it's, it wasn't like, oh, it came down to a state or two. It's like, nope, he, a guy. But I mean, he's also a
Yeah.
dude who very much, I believe, ran his campaign on the fact that, hey, my grandpa was a war hero and was president until he didn't want to wear a coat at his inauguration.
Yeah, there's that. It's got to be a bummer to be like exclusively known for how you died. Like,
Yeah.
he's probably more famous, like disproportionately. He's got to be more famous for his death than any other president, including like Kennedy, whose death is like on camera.
Yeah. It's a president who's more like actually well known for his like achievements outside of the presidency because of Tippecanoe and whatnot. So
with the first 6 picks, they were all in my top 18. This is one that I was way off compared to you guys. And I have reason. I had him at 35th.
Wow.
Yeah. The problem is he looks a lot like one of my best friend's dads, and it just I don't know. That was holding me back.
Shots fired at one of your best friend's dads.
Yeah. Shout out to Richard.
Boy, I'm
Sorry,
glad
Richard.
he wasn't one of my friends. I could have had some questions, I guess. So could have Stacy's mom situation, I guess. But
and now I'm thinking of trying to figure out which president is the closest looking to my dad. Maybe like Rutherford B. Hayes. He has a beard,
nice.
so he's in that period. But yeah,
I liked his role in Home Alone.
Maybe Gerald Ford did too.
I always thought Rutherford B. Hayes looked like the grandpa who's shoveling snow. That's what I always thought of.
Huh. Can't say I ever drew that connection, but
that's what I see.
So now John's got me thinking of what president reminds me the most of my dad. I think it has to be Millard Fillmore for my dad.
Nice.
So here's the thing. I was also thinking of Millard Fillmore for your dad.
Like,
now I'm gonna feel like a jerk when I don't draft him next.
Hey, I love my father, and we'll see where Millard Fillmore is on the list. But now I'm just thinking that
it's deducted points because of Mallard Fillmore. Since you mentioned Benjamin Harrison's height, though, I wish I had looked at. I know Madison's the shortest, but I don't have a great gauge of like the short and the fact that Lincoln's the tallest, right? I think he's still the tallest president. The fact that the tallest president's like a historic, universally popular one is kind of wild. I know that Harris would become the shortest if elected. It almost feels like you have to have like a caveat for men versus women because a 5'4" man seems shorter than a 5'2" woman.
Well, yeah, but it's even like but the time too. Like, I mean, Washington was seen as a large man, and he would be extremely average. In today's world.
Yeah, he's like 6'2" or so. Yeah, he's like tall, but not extremely tall.
Yeah, but back then he was seen as a very large figure. But
so I am up next, and I am going to venture back into sort of the modern era. This might be a somewhat controversial take, but I think this is a guy who's just generally good looking, just generally kind of crosses a lot of, a little bit like the Benjamin Harrison thing, where it's like kind of just covers a lot of ground, kind of good looking in different ways, got nice, kind eyes, nice smile. I'm going with George W. Bush. I think that, honestly, peak hotness, I think his dad at his peak of his lifetime was hotter, but I think he was just considerably older when he was president, whereas W was his early to mid 50s, so looked pretty solid there. Honestly, has aged pretty well too. He's just kind of gone grayer, but other than that, not a huge difference. But yeah, just very like kind of like, you know, the famous thing with him, the famous like Karl Rove, like you want the guy that you want to have a beer with kind of
Yeah.
line. You know, I think applies to him. I think obviously, as he would famously respond to that, didn't drink, but
Yeah.
like by the time that line became a thing, but yeah, just seems like a very affable fellow. This is going to shock everybody here, but I have never met George W. Bush, but
Well, this might shock
so I have
people.
yeah.
I actually have also never met George W. Bush.
Tyler has not commented on whether he's met George W. Bush, so
I have not met George
He's
W.
texting.
Bush.
I think he was texting George W. Bush. Like,
if he wants to come on the show, you can bring him on.
I was actually texting his wife. Shout out to Laura.
Yeah, Laura's a nice looking lady. We'll take either one of them on the show. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm not opposed.
I
did
say that
tweet
with
I
all
just saw the
respect.
Family Guy thing as soon as he said it. I'm like, no, I won't do that.
Oh God, yeah, that might be hard to get her on. Might be hard to get her on the show after that. I did tweet at Tim Walls the other day saying that if he wanted to redo the 2020 NBA draft and take Ant #1, we'd have him on. But have not heard back from him. Not sure if he's been busy this week or something.
But no,
I tweeted Vance for like some Ohio State draft or something.
Yeah, it's like I had Bush top 10. I think he
Same.
just a very, like you said, just like when you look at the photos of these guys, just like, yeah, he's another one of those just like, oh, he just looks like a kind man. Like,
yeah,
you know, and then when he talks, I mean, there's something charming. I know some people use it as a maybe you're not as intelligent thing, but the Southern accent, there's something to it. You know,
yeah.
it's homely at least to me because like my grandparents were from Arkansas and the Boot Heel of Missouri and talked with accents like that, like not quite Texas, but you know the twang. So it always like had a special place in my heart.
He has a nice delivery. It always drove me nuts when people would make fun of his speeches when he was president because like I was an avid member of the debate team while he was president. And I was just like, no, this guy's good at giving. Like you might not like what he's saying, but like his delivery is really good. But
It's like oh, this guy's an idiot. It's like, yes, I know who his dad is, but like, do you know where he went to school? Like, he probably has at least a little bit of knowledge that's been retained through going to universities like that. Like,
even if you thought he was dumb, there's like a difference between like being good at speaking and being like there are some actors that are extremely good at speaking that don't seem to understand how anything works.
I mean,
I don't think George W. Bush ever acted anything.
You can be me, who is bad at speaking and knows nothing. Just saying.
That's why you co-host a podcast. What a combination.
Somebody's got to keep, John looking good, and I'm happy to be that man.
I think we got to give Bush credit in the fact that, I mean, let's be honest, the man's charmed his way right into the arms of Michelle Obama. Like, if we're being honest, they are.
That's true.
That's something. So there's not a president of the modern era, I don't think, that has really like. It's like people sit there and go like question his politics, but they look at Bush now and they go like, he's a nice old man. Like he's like really shifted his image across kind of the country, I feel like, because of that charm.
It's
not saying people love him, not saying people necessarily like him, but they definitely have like shifted a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their friendship is sort of like the political version of Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart being friends, I feel like.
Not bad.
Or it's just like it was funny, like you say, the perception thing, like it was funny. My dad was like, I told him that he's like, we were talking about like Snoop Dogg at the Olympics and stuff, and he's like, oh, he's like, I love you, Dad, but he's like, oh, he's like a thug, been in and out of jail. I'm like, no, Dad, he's actually a pretty upstanding dude. He just likes to smoke weed.
Well,
like
he did go on trial for murder that one time. That was a while ago.
I know. I'm talking recency, like.
Sure. Yeah.
And am I biased because, fun fact, have I met Snoop Dogg? No, but I have met people who've met Snoop Dogg, and they have nothing but glowing things to say about him. So, and he was very nice and did not smoke weed in his hotel room and went outside to his bus to do it. So, like, that was
conscientious.
It's very
We should
nice
have a
of him.
draft sometime. We should have a draft sometime of famous people that we've never met. That would be a good. That'd be a good topic.
The draft famous people you want to have a beer with.
Famous people I've never met. I just take like Ryan Tannehill first or something. I just
Yeah.
go with like not even close to the
Or
best
just
answer, but
go with like Moses
Aaron
at number one.
Hernandez.
Oh, gosh.
yeah.
That wow.
My top picks are Ryan Tannehill, Moses, and Jeffrey Chaucer. Those are my top 3.
But, I just think
All
of
right,
like
Tyler.
the heroes that Michael Scott lists off when he's like, what is it, Gandhi, and then he's like, and God. I had to say God. It's like
Yeah. He has Bono on the list, who I've at least seen in concert. So I'm not sure if that counts as meeting him, but I've like seen him before. Seems like
Been in the same room.
Yeah.
All right,
All right,
let's
Tyler,
get this
you're
going because we got a lot of picks to go. I feel like.
Tweet too.
Yeah. Again, going off WhiteHouse.gov, I don't really know what this guy looked like in other pictures. I thought he was a nice, sharp-looking man. I'm gonna go Calvin Coolidge here.
Silent Cal.
There's nothing. I mean, he's not the most striking, but he's also just got a very just kind of like approachable look. He also kind of looks like of when he was president. He looks very modern.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of, I guess, got a little points in his favor. Just felt more like familiar. But yeah, that's what I'm going with here.
Yeah. He's another one, like John said with Obama. The ears threw me a little bit.
Yeah. Big schnoz too.
I clearly am not an ear guy because I am missing this.
I mean, I say this as somebody who has, like, thankfully my head grew in my ears, but I was teased often as a child on the school bus being called Dumbo because I had big ears.
Yeah, that's why they were calling you Dumbo.
Oh, is it because my mom died? No, that's not true. My mom's still alive. That was a terrible thing to even say.
God.
Didn't that happen to Dumbo? Like, didn't Dumbo's mom die?
Bambi. That's Bambi.
I thought you were thinking of Bambi. Yeah.
Well, he gets taken away from his mom then. Like, Disney had a bunch of moms die because his mom died.
I haven't seen Dumbo in a really long time. I mostly
heard
just remember the crows. But yeah, yes, it is.
Anyway.
All right.
Yeah, I was a little pun intended cool on Coolidge because of the ear thing. He is pretty modern looking. He's got a certain like Ross Perot type look to him, I think.
He definitely does.
He got like a slightly like little smaller looking guy. I don't know how big he was exactly, but he just from the picture kind of looks like it. He was pretty good looking in Killers of the Flower Moon whenever Lily Gladstone approached him. Obviously, I was focused mostly on Lily Gladstone, but she did okay. He did okay. Still got her on the mind.
Yeah, I mean he has a very college. I think Tyler has like the college professor thing going for him because I think Coolidge looks like he could very much be a college professor, like philosophy maybe.
I have a presidential type, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Jason.
All right. I'm gonna go modern again. And while this man, if we were going throughout time, he'd definitely be higher up this list. But I think still a pretty good looking dude as president, even though he was old when he was elected. I'll take Reagan. I think.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
He's got that Hollywood bow.
Yeah, I had him 15, but if it's peak of powers, he would be way higher.
Yeah, but and maybe part of it, like you go on the picture, but a dude like you want to talk about a dude that could talk and just charm, like that's Reagan to a T.
Absolutely.
And maybe one of the most popular presidents. I mean, depending on what part of the country you live in, I bet he's a lot of people's favorite president of all time.
He would probably if you polled people and it wasn't like a ranked choice thing, you're just saying like who's your favorite. Like, I don't think any president before him is really getting more votes than him. Because like there'd be a lot of people just picking like the most recent presidents, but
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if you just had older people, especially, like you may get some FDRs in there just for it when people think about the
may-
New Deal and stuff like that. But
maybe, but that's like kind of dying out though. Like you'd have to be at least like bare minimum like mid 80s to
well, to have
like
lived. But yeah, I just
vote
mean,
them.
but like and maybe it's an overgeneralization, but I think like I feel like I know a lot about presidents, maybe because like my dad's a presidential nut, just knows all sorts of random facts, and I grew up with it, kind of stuff. So like I knew like what the presidents did, but maybe in today's generation they don't know necessarily. But like I know a lot of people, at least when I was like in high school, there was definitely a contingent even of kids in my high school I know who were very adamant about like FDR being the greatest president who ever lived. But I was also very politically involved as a high schooler, so like maybe I was just around that conversation more. Good lord, if I run
Maybe
the opposite direction as an adult. But like I mean I was at
it's
election
almost
night
like being a
parties for a losing senator in Missouri when I
it's
was in
almost
high
like
school.
being an adult wears you down, and the presidents of the and
So,
lesser offices of the last few years have worn us down beyond recognition. Almost.
you also don't have to pay taxes in high school. So it's
That's
like
true.
the libertarians got a point. As you can
All
see, my
right.
lips will just continue to get looser the more and more libations that I partake in on this podcast.
Nice. Maybe we should have done this in reverse order and then be talking about the hot presidents after we've had a few drinks in us.
Yeah,
Or
there you go.
we can also just start ripping guys at the end, which could also be
It's
entertaining.
gonna get It's gonna get
That's,
nasty at the end.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're
I
at the
mean,
point
luckily,
where we're like we've hit the they're good, and then it's gonna start to go to they're fine, and then we're just gonna be like, bro.
yeah. Most of the ones near the bottom, not all, but most of the ones near the bottom of my list have been dead for a long time, so I'm not going to feel that bad about ripping them. But
That
my pick, my fourth pick. This is probably going to be a controversial one, but I have always said that this guy is a lot better looking than his reputation. Jason actually mentioned him as a point of contrast of not being very good looking. I think Richard Nixon's pretty good looking. There, I said it. I'm not like I agree that he's below Kennedy, but like got a nice kind of like symmetrical face. The whole sweatiness thing is supposedly not based on like him being a naturally sweaty guy, but just based on like the environment he was in.
right lied
Yeah,
someone. Yeah, say
nice,
for the record,
nice
I
pair of
wasn't necessarily saying that he was ugly. I said that people who watched him
yeah,
did think he was Kennedy. And that wasn't necessarly saying that he was
and he was
less good
not.
looking than
Yeah,
Kennedy. It was more of the appearance that was given off, I'll say.
yeah.
I had Nixon in the
And
top
I have him
15.
below Kennedy. I have him below Kennedy.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like go crazy on it, but like I think that yeah, just kind of and like yeah, between I see I have George W. Bush, Richard Nixon, Warren Harding. I have all the presidents that everybody loves and that there's no criticism of anywhere. Need to like
I had
soften up.
I was just gonna say I had so far everybody that has been picked except for Benjamin Harrison has been in my top 23. So I
Oh
think
wow.
that's not
Yeah.
actually terrible. So I think we're doing pretty good on that end. I had Reagan 21st and then Nixon 23. I had them kind of the same area. Um, kind of same reasons with Reagan. I mean, I I just felt like the photos I was looking at and basing it off of just weren't maybe the most flattering of them. But also you can still see like there's some like okay, like I could see someone being attracted to them. So,
Yeah.
but I had Reagan just 2 spots higher, but it wasn't a big discrepancy.
Yeah. The only president that I have outside of my top half was Coolidge. Everybody else was in my top 17. So
Yeah.
I think that our picks are diverse enough, but we're not like way off the board. We're not like picking huge stretches.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
Tyler,
going to
you're
point
up.
out if any of you, whenever you got one of you guys pick one of my bottom five, I'm putting you on blast because
That's fun.
yeah, it's going to be that's what I'm looking forward to. All right, I'm going to go with again. I know that this is probably recency bias, if that's what you want to call it, isn't doing him any favors right now. But when he went into office, based on his photo here, I think he's a good-looking guy, another charmer, good smile. Give me Biden.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, he was definitely
I've,
lower on my list.
Yeah, I had him above Coolidge, but I had him lower than.
I had him one spot up. I had him one spot lower than Coolidge on my list.
if we're going,
I will say,
I'm going Biden on this photo. That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about Biden like currently or anything. It's like
Well,
off this photo, the guy still looks sharp as a tack and has that charm and wit to him.
Okay, hold
Still
on.
kicking.
Sharp as a tack, bro. His eyes are. They do not look sharp as a tack.
He's got a
He's
nice
got.
smile. I will give him that.
Yeah, he looks like a grandpa that you'd be like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
No, I think he's a good-looking guy. But anyways, that's my opinion. Go on, rip into it.
I think for a guy who was like 78 when he got elected, I think he looks pretty good for his age.
Yeah.
A little bit of like and like if you look at pictures of him when he was a younger guy, I don't think he was ever like gorgeous, but he was like not bad looking.
No.
Where'd you guys have him? Give me what was the number?
33.
27.
Okay. At least he wasn't in the 40s, so appreciate that.
Oh yeah, there's a designation. There's like an area in which I have guys who are just straight up ugly, and none of the guys that have been drafted so far fit the designation of ugly. There are just some that are not as good looking as the others.
Yeah. All right, who's up? Back to Jason.
I think we're back to me, aren't
It's
we?
Jason.
So, all right. I think it's pretty clear in my type, and I don't know. I may get on blast for this one. I don't really care. Talked about him earlier. He might have won me a game earlier. I will take Missouri's own, even though he wasn't born here. Harry Truman with my next pick.
He was born in Missouri.
Was he born?
Born in Lamar.
Okay. That's right. And then grew up in the Independence. I've been to his presidential library a couple of times. It's a good visit. Nothing extraordinary about Truman. I like the glasses look. Maybe it's because I have glasses. I don't know. You know, very, maybe one of the first more like just we were talking about hair, not his strong suit, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. But
I will say, I think that some of the pictures of him don't necessarily do him justice. I think that like the famous, probably the most famous photo of him is the Dewey defeats Truman one. He's got a great smile.
Yeah, definitely. Happy guy. I mean, don't want to get into like. I mean, arguably had to make one of the worst decisions of presidential history, wherever you fall on whether it needed to happen or not. But
yeah, it's not a great result.
I mean, but there will be people that will say it was. I mean, yeah, we're not going to go into. I'm not going to get into all that, but
though it does tie into Gary Oldman playing him in a movie.
It's true.
Do worse. Should have mentioned Anthony Hopkins playing my guy.
More of a Langella your guy, but
what's coincidentally?
I was going to say, coincidentally, I had the 33rd president at 33 on my list. So
that's cute. Tyler and I picked each other's 33 back to back.
Yeah. So whitehouse.gov does not do Truman, I think, very good or any justice.
The lighting is very bad on Truman's picture on whitehouse.gov.
Yeah.
Because there's like shadow on his face and stuff. It's not good. But
I don't know. I just feel like there's nothing that stood out. He wasn't one where I was going through my list like, let's just knock off the guys that are like standing out. But he definitely wasn't one that I was like, oh my God, this guy's going straight to the bottom. Just very kind of. He's fine.
There's just something in it. I think it's the glasses that get me, and maybe it's the subconscious of knowing the Dewey defeats Truman photo, where it's just like not stage smile, just like pure like look at the hilarity of this, and I'm happy. So maybe it's that, and maybe there's bias for being a Missouri guy. I don't know.
Should we take a moment out of our night to spell out his last name, Jason?
TRU, John.
MAN. Shout out to Cody Schrader.
Cody Schrader, please don't get cut. All right. If not,
Right.
get cut and come to the Battlehawks.
That's right. So speaking of college football stars of yore, I'm going to go with a guy who was definitely past his prime when he became president, but honestly may have been the hottest president like at some point in his life. I'm going with Gerald Ford.
He's up there.
Yeah.
He was a good-looking guy, man.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous as a young man. By the time he was president, he was in his 60s, so he started to diminish a little bit. When it comes to Gerald Ford, I always think about, and this is going to be a huge shock, I always think about the Simpsons episode where George Bush moves in next door and Homer just absolutely hates him. Like, not for any political reasons, but just because he's like a cranky old guy. And then Gerald Ford moves in next and they're just like the best of friends. It's always kind of the vibe I get with Ford. And like, obviously a very receding hairline, but still a nice smile. Just a nice, still had the nice physique. I think that if I had to hang out with him a lot and he's like constantly requesting that the White House band play Hail to the Victors when he walks in, I'd be a little bit annoyed by it eventually. True Michigan man, but for a moment, I'll go with him.
Gerald Ford, for me, he was kind of an unfair one because I had to remind myself I got to base this off of the photo that I'm giving. I had to play on the same level playing field as everyone else.
Yeah,
even
the photo's
though
not great on White House.
It's not a good photo.
Yeah, even though I know he was a former model for Cosmopolitan when he was like 20. So he had that going for him. If you ever see a photo from the Cosmopolitan, that guy had some hair going on. But you can obviously see in the older age that, okay, there might have been something there in the past, but just off the photo, I had him 22nd. I had Reagan, Ford, Nixon, like 1, 2, 3. I don't know. It was something about that era. Maybe it was the lighting. Yeah, just he's fine.
All right, Tyler, you're up.
All right. This one here is probably going to be controversial. I don't think either of you are going to have this guy anywhere close to where I have him ranked, but I'm sticking to my rankings, even though I'm probably going to get laughed at for this one. I don't know why. We all have that person. I always say, I want to clarify this as I find Tina Fey very attractive, even though she is not ever going to be on any like 100 most beautiful women list, but I find her attractive.
I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah, that's not a crazy take at all. Like, she also has the humor is a big thing too. I mean,
so I'm not calling this guy the Tina Fey of presidents. I'm just saying he's one that probably doesn't stand with other people, but he was going through my list. One, I was like, I'll slot him here at this spot. I'm going Andrew Johnson.
He was 13th on my list. He's better looking than I thought, than my perception of him whenever I was looking at the pictures. And the picture you got was a good picture of him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I don't know. That photo on whitehouse.gov just gives me is Tommy Lee Jones Andrew Johnson reincarnated?
It's very like, how have we not had Tommy Lee Jones in an Andrew Johnson biopic?
Wasn't he in Lincoln but not Andrew Johnson?
Correct.
Wasn't he like Thaddeus Stevens or
yeah?
One Spielberg.
But Andrew Johnson, good president, right?
Yeah, everyone likes him. Everyone agrees he's great, and
he came out at a good time.
Yeah, I remember I watched that mini series on Apple TV Plus a few months ago about the Lincoln assassination. I was like, man, this Andrew Johnson guy really is just he really is the worst, huh?
Yeah, I mean, like if you're breaking down like the actual worst presidents, like it may not be.
He's in the conversation.
Yeah, like he's up there.
Yeah, if you're not at least willing to entertain the possibility of him at number one, I think that your criteria is probably warped. And frankly, if you're not including him, your list is probably skews way too modern because very bad.
Well, it was one vote that kept him in office, right?
I believe that's correct.
The impeachment vote on him. I believe he stayed in by one vote.
Yeah, the removal vote.
Yeah. Or yeah, he was impeached but not removed. Yeah. Sorry to my high school civics teacher for not remembering that exactly as it happened. Because I'm sure she's listening to this podcast.
Would she be on the show? Should we bring her on? This should just be our new bit. Is just constantly like saying like random people that we think would be on the show.
It's weird to be like, would somebody I haven't thought about in 18 years be on the podcast? I mean,
if you are if I will just say, if you're any of the presidential candidates that's currently running for president, just let us know what draft you want to do. RFK Jr., you are not eligible, but you're one of the people that's still in the race.
I mean, if any of these former presidents that we're drafting here today would like to be part of one who are still with us, I would welcome almost all of them.
Who would be the president that would be the most likely that we could get? It's got to be W, right?
I think W or
It could
Clinton.
be Obama. Well, Obama's like had a podcast before, so
yeah. I don't know if we're big time enough for Obama, though.
I mean, if he could do one with Springsteen, I feel like we can jump in.
Yeah, because we're up there with Springsteen.
Look, I've had as many number one hits as Bruce Springsteen has, so shots fired at Bruce.
I mean, I've had as many non-honorary Oscars as Alfred Hitchcock, so it's. But
shots fired all over the place.
But yeah, Andrew Johnson.
Yeah. But Jason, if you're planning on drafting Abraham Lincoln or James Garfield or William McKinley, my shots fired thing could be a great transition.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna be, unfortunately, though. But I see, now you just had me thinking of the Seth MacFarlane joke about Lincoln at the Oscars the year it came out. And like,
oh yeah,
people groan, and he's like, "Wow, 100 and whatever years, and it's still too soon." It was gold. I believe we watched those Oscars together at the apartment I lived in for like 2 months.
That's true. Yeah.
But
the Argo Oscars, I believe.
That sounds right. So, all right, here. See, like, I have my list, but now I'm like second guessing as I'm like going through here, and I'm like, you know what? Why not? I love a man in uniform. So I'm gonna take General Dwight D. Eisenhower as my next pick.
Okay. I had him exactly in the middle of my list. I had him at 23 out of 45.
Nothing extraordinary or extraordinary about him, but you can't doubt the man's accolades. Like, he was one that it was hard for me to just like purely remove the picture, like knowing, like, those eyes have seen D-Day, my man. Like.
He definitely has a great, like, handsome for a grandpa kind of look, even though I don't think he was that old. I think he was like maybe like early 60s when he got elected, but he looks way older.
Yeah.
But like, mean, pretty good. Like, he's like a 60-year-old man who looks like a good-looking 75-year-old man.
But yeah, Dwight Eisenhower. He's got some kind eyes. Oh. His photo's a little confusing. He looks a little confused in it. But
he does, yeah.
I had him 28.
Still not in that bottom tier, so I'm doing all right.
Smoother now.
So far, all three of my bottom half of the presidents are all picked by Jason. So, congrats.
I don't think that anyone who's listened to these before is that Tyler and I, in a lot of things, just have very different tastes.
Yeah.
I don't know,
but somehow we connect on contemporary Christian music, weirdly enough.
Hey, to be fair, I don't think our movie takes are as ridiculously off as maybe some of our other takes. But I think it's what makes something like this fun. If we all had the same opinion, we were just fighting for the same thing, I don't
Oh,
think it would
sure.
be very fun. That's plus. Let's
You
be
guys,
honest. We're drafting the hotness of presidents. Like, other than this draft, is my views on how hot Dwight Eisenhower is compared to your thoughts on it. Like, ever
hey,
going to
I will definitely be your guys' icebreaker for Benjamin Harrison all day long. You just let me know.
that beard, though.
All right. So, a thing that I noticed about my draft so far is that all five of my picks have been Republicans. So I'm going to change things up and go with my first Democrat, and he is also my first like sex predator. So I'll go with Bill Clinton.
Yep.
Obviously a little creepy in
That's a
certain
good pick,
regard.
John. It's a very good pick.
Yeah, obviously a guy that's been like kind of a walking meme forever, but very much a guy who was considered a charmer and kind of in the like want to have a beer with, like he's more of like a want to have like a like go to like a fried chicken restaurant with or whatever. But I do remember that whenever I was a kid, my family went to Little Rock, Arkansas, and we went to the fried chicken place that was supposedly his favorite whenever he was governor. He had a bunch of like Clinton like memorabilia because like at that point he was still the president, so it was like a very big deal. But that's that's what I got. Uh, yeah, other than Ford, I got some not awesome guys on my list, but it's
It's
fine.
not the list, though.
This is
That's fine.
yeah, pure hit it, forget it. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
no,
right,
I think
Tyler, you're
Clinton,
up.
he was right in the middle of my stuff. And
I had him top 10. Yeah. All right. So I'm second guessing my next pick because I'm just going down my big board here. I might. I think I can get my next two at any point, really, in the next two rounds, but I'm just going to keep going down the line. I'm going to go with the only president that was a bachelor. So I'm going James Buchanan.
Buchanan.
I have him at number 37. That is the lowest one so far.
I can't
It's not
really
a middle of the road guy for me.
can't explain it other than I like that photo. It's just a nice, cool. I think the photo is just cool. If you have it pulled up, just kind of a head turned down a little bit, sideways glance. I don't know, little rough, like he just walked out of a bar at 2 a.m. just looking for something.
He's
He
got a
looks
certain
tired.
like album cover look. Yeah.
He's got
He
a very
definitely has
round
composer
chin as
look.
well.
He has
He definitely
composer
does.
look.
Yeah.
Very Beethoven-esque.
I like a guy that likes music, so maybe that's what was drawing me to him. I don't know. That's
Or
probably
like
my
James Bach canon.
okay.
Good God, John.
No, for no apologies for this or anything.
Well, let's not dwell on my 37th overall hottest president on John's list. So, Jason.
Oh, back to me. All right.
Yeah.
Let's do this thing.
I do have a feeling that like in the middle rounds we're gonna be just like drafting like we're gonna be pretty quick on our comments, but then if we start getting back into the ugly ones, we're gonna really be going for it.
Yeah.
So if I'm going next, this is one. It could be. I'll take a shot in the dark and take William McKinley next.
That's good.
Good value.
Just a guy
It's
who
a real
like.
gut. It's a real gut punch for me not to get him. He got shot in the stomach. You see,
He got shot in the stomach. Yes, I see what you there. He's got some kind of crazy eyebrows. I won't lie about that, but he's got a bit of like a almost like regal nobleness in his kind of
Yeah,
appearance.
I would agree.
You know, maybe it's because I'm also like very English heritage. I mean, my name is Jason Bradshaw, for crying out loud. You could probably plop me down in the middle of London, and if I didn't talk to people, would be like, oh, okay, with that name, he could be from here. So,
Like, this guy looks like he likes beans on toast.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'll say this much. It sounds weird, but I've never had it.
Yeah, it could be good.
Like, I've actually watched random videos of like British high school kids eating like things from America for the first time, like biscuits and gravy and stuff. And they're like, that sounds disgusting. And they're like, oh, this is so good. And as
Yeah.
somebody who loves
Actually-
biscuits and gravy, I'm with this.
Actually, a friend of the show, Alex Turpin, one time, I think it was during the World Cup, was like doing a lot of jokes about England. It was like when the U.S. was playing, and then he decided that he was gonna like make some amends by actually trying beans on toast. He's like, it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, beans are very good food. Like it's
Yeah, I like beans and I like toast. It's not a
yeah.
I think McKinley would definitely be the president I'd be the most disappointed to find out doesn't have just a thick English accent. Like, I think I'd be very disappointed.
Yeah, like if he doesn't have at least a couple of horses at home, I'm gonna be like, oh, that hurts a little bit. But
I would say, other than
Right.
Teddy Roosevelt, probably the president that I can most picture just exclaiming "bully" at some point. That kind of vibe.
fully good.
All right, I'm going to go back to the well of historically unpopular Republican presidents and go with a guy that looks vaguely like Orson Welles as Citizen Kane. I'm going to go with Herbert Hoover. Just a distinguished-looking man. He was just a general rich guy. He was like a businessman before he was president, so he definitely has that look of like I'm not saying he looks like an unscrupulous businessman, but like definitely a guy who could afford to pay his workers a little better. Not starving, but they could use another meal or two. That kind of guy.
Oh.
But yeah, just perfectly adequate looking guy, basically.
Yeah,
He is John's first pick on the bottom half of my board at 24.
Wow.
But hey, he was old football coach at Stanford way back in the day when they called him managers. So fun fact for you guys. So let's bring sports
I did not know that.
into a podcast that's sports related most of the time.
So I have him and Ford. I feel like I have college football kind of cornered here.
got it on lock, bro.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. Got a real
All right.
Rose Bowl going here.
Jason, do you want to say anything else about Herbert Hoover, or do you want to move on?
Looks like if I met him, I wouldn't speak to him. I mean, it's really
That's true of most of these guys, for me, to be fair.
I don't know. Admittedly,
Like,
I'm a little
like I
more
would-
outgoing than John.
Like, I would speak to them, but I'm probably not gonna have a lot
You know
to say
what?
to them, to be honest.
To be fair, the football coach for Herbert Hoover makes sense because he does give Les Miles vibes in this White House.
That's a pretty good call.
So
Yeah, I kind of get Rush Limbaugh vibes, but
that too.
That's he's like if Rush Limbaugh like got off the what was he on? I don't want to get the drug he was on wrong because I feel like that's like, even though he's dead,
Yeah,
that'd be like libelous.
yeah, I don't. Whatever he was on, he kind of looks like the
get
love child of John Voight and Rush Limbaugh. There, I said it.
That's pretty good, actually. I like that. Yeah, he's
Les Miles, John
He's like
Voight,
a-
Rush Limbaugh.
like if Rush Limbaugh got his life together a little bit, but not that much.
My grandmother's personal hero, Rush Limbaugh, for the record.
Well, I'll just say that Limbaugh, Miles, and Voight all have probably some awesome takes to give. So
that would be a conversation that'd be fantastic to listen to. Like, be a fly on the wall there.
that would be.
You would know.
Do
It
a
was
one
going
night
on.
in Miami style with those guys and Herbert Hoover in a hotel room together.
At
Yeah, I'm sure they and the One Night in Miami guys have a lot in common.
It'd have to be like, yeah, well, I can think of one thing they have in common. They're all men.
It's true.
All right.
Speaking of men, Tyler, which one are you going to pick?
Yeah. This is a biased pick. He's probably become one of my favorite presidents to read about. So I'm a little charmed by what I've read on him. So I'm being a little biased on this pick. It's going to be unpopular. But if I take away the beard, I like James Garfield. I'm a Garfield guy.
Yeah,
he's fine.
He's a hopeless romantic from what I've read. He's just a very, I don't know. His intelligence is attractive. I know it has nothing to do with his photo, but Garfield for me.
Hey,
I think to be fair,
like
it is
Mondays. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, lasagna. I mean, like, to be fair though, like we said, this is the presidential hotness draft, and while the photo is certainly part of it, I think that intelligence and humor and things like that, like those are things that, like, in my wife, like that I found attractive. Like, I would be like, oh, it makes her hotter because she's funny or because she's smart. You know, I love you, honey, because I know you don't listen to this podcast.
The most attractive thing about her is she doesn't listen to this podcast.
I mean,
with all due respect to all of our female listening.
Funny.
But yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with Garfield. I like it.
Yeah, he's I mean, he wasn't next on my board, but he was 18th, so yeah, that works.
All right, Jason, start the 8th round.
So I'm probably gonna I might get flack for this one, but you know what?
We're in that territory.
There's something to be said for it. I'm taking numero uno here. I'm gonna go with George Washington. Like, and this is more standard of the era. When you look at some of the other early presidents, like he ain't that bad.
Yeah, era adjusted. He is. There's a reason he's the first of the like truly early ones to go.
You know, and then like obviously like he's a president that like I've read. Like I enjoy early American history quite a bit. So I've read a lot of like revolutionary history and read a lot about Washington, and he is just a very fascinating man. And like the ultimate like I don't want to be president, but you're the face we need type of guy who like did this, you know. You see the iconic images too, and like, you know, because keep in mind here, these early ones, we have paintings. That's what we have of them. You know, we don't have, you know, early tintypes or anything like that of these guys. So, like, when I think of Washington, like, wow, this is an image, I also think of crossing the Delaware, like, as a very iconic image. And there's something about that, like, I think something that's maybe lost a little bit in modern politics is just, like, the commander part of commander-in-chief. And, like, that dude, like, epitomized, like, commander, I think. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's an era adjusted, like, yeah, he's not smiling because his teeth were not great, but, like, you know, I think
well, they weren't his teeth.
Well, that's fair. But, you know, just, I think, you know, he was a catch for the time, like, no doubt. Yeah. Tall drink of water, like we've already talked about, and frankly, like, wanted to be able to get one of the better looking early guys on my board if I could, because we've done a lot of the more mid to modern guys, and I think Pierce was the earliest one we've taken so far besides him. So let's.
Yeah, that's crazy actually, because Pierce is like for 14. That's not like that early.
Yeah,
Jason, I just want to say that you swayed me a little bit on. I have George Washington too low based on your nice little convincing take on him. He was my first one in the 40s. He was right at 40. And it unfairly has to do with the human teeth, cow teeth, dentures. It's just not a flattering photo of him. I don't know what is a flattering photo, considering it's not. It's painted basically.
But the smile definitely looks like my son when he's like trying to hide the fact that he really has to go poop. Like that's the smile on his face.
Yeah, but you do make a good point that, for the time, the 6'2", the commander, the presence,
Yeah,
that is a great factor.
I think it's
And
a
then
hard
also,
thing when you're looking at pictures to not want to skew modern.
and like our American history has told us, the man never told a lie. So he's got that going for him.
That's what I hear. I love a man that can chop down cherry trees,
Yeah.
so he's strong. But honest
Man's
saying,
man.
yeah, I did it. There's
Yeah,
there's nothing hotter than a reluctant leader. A man who doesn't want to do it but knows he needs to do it. You're like, oh, there's just something about it. You're so humble. That's why it has to be you.
Not sure where this fits into the want to have a drink with calculus, but I have drank at George Washington's favorite bar before, back when he was the
That's cool.
leader of the
Oh, nice.
American Revolution. Yeah, in shout out to Francis Tavern in South Manhattan. It is a very dark bar, but
That's cool though.
I had a decent beer there.
Say
All right.
that's
A
full of
Bud
great.
Light.
My parents got to go out to Mount Vernon about 7 or 8 years ago, and I don't know. I'm hoping that my kids end up enjoying history as I tell them about stuff, so then we can take history-laden vacations and not do what my parents did, which was promise to take me to Gettysburg for 10 years and then never do it. I haven't been to this day.
I have also not been to Gettysburg. I have not been to Pennsylvania, so you might have me.
I hadn't until earlier this year when I went to Rocky's town. But
all right, so for my next pick. So this is actually the median president. If we end up drafting all 45, this would be the median one because this is the 23rd overall pick. I am going to go with another old president, obviously not as old as Jason's, but I'm going to go with another bad guy. I'm going to go with Andrew Jackson. Got a real thick head of hair. Got a real kind of debonair kind of look about him. I know that that it does kind of expose the fact that his whole political career is based on this lie of him being this working man, but he actually was just extremely rich and always was. But yeah, just a suave looking gentleman.
A president whose face we've seen more than almost any of these because of the prevalence of the $20 bill.
It's true. You can't go to an ATM without seeing his face. I think I may have seen your last guy's face a little bit more, but
he's got multiple.
Still.
Yeah, when you got the 1 1/4, it's
yeah.
But yeah, working retail, a lot of cash. I know that you worked in fast food and such, so I'm sure there was lots of cash handling. I also worked at a bank, so I saw a lot of presidents' faces on the teller line. To be fair, but.
All right, that's pretty much all I got to say about Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, the hair, he's got a mane, there's no doubt about it, and that's what elevates him. It's a little bit I don't know, a strong widow's peak too with that hair. So
yeah, that's true.
Where did I have him? I lost him on my list. Where's he at? Oh, there he is. Third. I had him 30th. Don't really know why. Just didn't like his photo. I'm sure there's better photos of him, but
he's another guy that I think it's a painting on WhiteHouse.gov. I think maybe the last painting.
And he's also a guy that, similar to Garfield, how Garfield's one of my favorite presidents to read about and one I like to hear about. Andrew Jackson's one that I wish I would stop reading about.
Yeah,
there's just nothing good about him at all.
I wouldn't. He's interesting. I will give him that, but bad guy.
Say John's team. If we're gonna name teams, John's got the bad boys.
Oof.
Yeah.
I feel like I got the grandpas, and then Tyler's got there's something about this guy.
Something about Barry.
Thank God I have Gerald Ford, because really, other than Gerald Ford, I have like a pretty big qualms against pretty much everybody on my team, but got some good looking guys in there. So
I'm really just right. Oh, this sounds bad. I'm really riding just Obama and Franklin Pierce to the bank here because the other guys are really dragging my overall down. All right.
there's a joke you could make there.
Yep.
I thought about it.
We'll just let it linger. Anyways. Yeah. This guy that I'm going with next, he gives me just nice Southern dad that, I got a little too drunk and he just drove me home and made sure I got home safely. I'm going Jimmy Carter here.
Yeah, that's
another
He
guy.
Like,
call.
If
seems like a nice guy.
He's definitely another guy that if you went like all-time hotness would be way higher, I think.
Yeah.
When he was a Navy man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Though I would argue that because he has the longest like post presidency, that like the perception most people have in their minds of Jimmy Carter is not actually from him as president, but just from any of various times post presidency where he's like really old.
Yeah, it's
like he was like early 50s when he was president, so it was like
it's kind of just like, I don't know, when you see somebody in the position of power and everything now, like, and you see him now, it hurts a little bit just to see him. You're like, like, I'm glad that he's still around, when he's real old, but
yeah, he's got like a month and a half until he turns 100.
May he not succumb to the bet. Yes, don't pull a Betty White on us, man.
God. Yeah.
Sorry, I went there. I didn't need to do that.
You can redeem yourself with a pick here.
I can redeem myself with a pick here. Alrighty, let's go. We're gonna go. And you know what? I am gonna take here. I'm gonna go FDR here.
Good pick, yeah.
If we're looking at it, obviously what polio did to him, the wheelchair and stuff, but like, definitely a guy whose face just like, like always looked like he was thinking about the next step. Whenever you see him, he very, very thoughtful. Like, looks like a guy who, like he would be an intelligent guy. Like, but other than that, fairly generic. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Well, clearly a guy that had money in an era where having money was a very important thing for looking decent.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the pictures of him whenever he ran for vice president in 1920, like he had a good look, and obviously polio, ravaged his physique quite a bit, and really aged rapidly. Even before he became president, and probably being president for 13 years doesn't help that. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's he's really an interesting case. We talked about the Nixon Kennedy thing. If television was as prevalent when he hit his first term, do the citizens in the U.S. elect a man in a wheelchair? I think it's a valid question.
Yeah. And he had a pretty strong voice, so he was able to really compensate because radio was around, so he was good with that.
Good speaker, like, I feel like, kind of like how Tyler talked about with the back, maybe, where like Kennedy, like a lot of stuff staged, like probably had to get up all his strength to give a radio address type of thing, and then just like, I can't imagine,
Probably, yeah.
But, just a perfectly, like, maybe looked a little more like guys at the end of his presidency towards the beginning of his presidency, just with like seeing some of the age in the face. But I don't know. As I get older, that doesn't, like, it's funny because, like, can you imagine us drafting this if we were guys like, still in college or just out of college in like our early 20s versus like doing this now? Like, I think there's a lot of perception that happens to where you're just like, huh. Like, and maybe it's the fact also knowing, you're the reason we have presidential term limits, bro, because,
Yeah.
In the words of
Yeah,
Bradley Whitford, I would have voted you for a 5th term, so.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have voted for FDR for a 5th term and then tried to steal his body. Yeah.
Or maybe he would have tried to steal something else from Daniel Kaluuya to fix his body. Spoiler alert for anybody who's never seen Get Out.
Yeah. He would have kept his body, but Stephen Root's brain for some reason.
So it didn't Stephen Root the eye?
Yeah. The eye thing was the issue.
Because that's how sight works.
Look, I'm not saying, look, Jordan Peele liked to claim that movie was based on like actual scientifically possible things. I have some questions about that. I love the movie. I think he may have stretched reality a bit, but that's neither here nor there.
Never look at Fruit Loops the same again after that movie.
I think she looks unreasonably attractive in that movie. I hate it. It's uncomfortable.
I mean, she's not an unattractive person. Like, speaking of politically involved people, her father. All right, we made it back around.
All
John's
right.
pick.
Yeah. Go from a Brian Williams reference to my number 14 on my board, number 9 on my picks. It's the guy that I said looks vaguely like my dad before, so not sure what it says that I'm drafting him here, but I took Rutherford B. Hayes.
Drafted your father before you drafted my dad. I would just like to go on records.
Yeah. Not I wouldn't say he had an elite beard, but he had a solid beard and just kind of a well-rounded guy in general. Like kind of one of the like more, if you're like a student of American history, one of the more shockingly like significant presidents just because of like his election, but kind of a actual boring presidency beyond like ending Reconstruction. But yeah, a little bit more little scruffier beard. I often think that I think we're ready to have a bearded president again. There aren't a lot of like major politicians who are rocking beards, but we need to bring it back. So I think that the scruff might be a little much for people. We need to go like very like a manicured kind of beard for baby steps.
So it's funny you talk about the beard and with Hayes. Tyler actually, I believe, commented on my haircut early on. When I was getting my haircut, there was a man in the barbershop that I was at who asked for something I believe called the Rutherford B. Hayes. Is how he wanted his and he had a very nice beard himself, but I believe it was like I go to a very old school barbershop where they still do a lot of beard trimming and that type of stuff. Actually, fun fact: John's met my barber, so that's a fun fact.
True.
But it's an interesting thing you talk about his beard, but apparently there is a sect of like bearddom and hairdom out there of men who like to get something called the Rutherford B. Hayes, and I believe it is letting that mustache hang longer, kind of down over the lips more, whereas a lot more times you see it trimmed above the top lip, where he lets it come down more.
His mouth is just basically hidden.
He's definitely the one president that's like, he's the president I think I want to see without a beard the most. I'm just curious. Because while I think the beard is very symbolic to him, I think it hides a lot of his face, obviously, for the reasons you kind of stated with the mustache kind of hanging over. But
I think him and Garfield are the two for sure that I would want to see without.
I agree with that.
Lincoln could be interesting too. But
I mean, I've seen pictures of Lincoln without the beard. Doesn't do him favors.
The beard doesn't do him any favors either. But
yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
All right. I think this. I don't know. You guys. I've been kind of following you guys' type, and I think right where I have this guy at is going to. I think it'll surprise me if you guys don't have him, and I think I'm getting him a good value here. At what would this be like? Pick 27. So let's go with our 27th president. Give me William Howard Taft.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all the bathtub jokes probably dilute his.
But he's a guy that from a headshot you wouldn't think he's as big as he was.
Yeah, and a very good athlete in his younger days. He was a acclaimed baseball player.
He very notably was my great grandmother's favorite president. I don't know why, but that was something I always knew about her.
Okay, yeah. Did not know that people had strong opinions on William Howard Taft's presidency, but
my Nana, as she was affectionately known to her grandchildren and great grandchildren.
Got a great mustache. I gotta say that
the mustache is elite. Like it's.
I believe the most recent president with facial hair.
I believe that's correct.
Huh.
Which is kind of crazy to actually think about.
Yeah, I feel like facial hair is coming back. Like I'm trying, like I mean, like JD Vance has facial hair, so like maybe that's like gonna set up for people to like be like, oh, we can have facial hair. Obviously, his popularity is very high right now, so maybe that's actually going to be a mark against the bearded Americans among us.
I don't think we need to get stuck on Taft here. If you guys want to move on,
I will say William Howard Taft is I think underratedly interesting president because he later became Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and his son was like an extremely influential congressman who ran for president a bunch of times himself. So it's kind of a more interesting story, I think, than people realize. He's a lot more than the bathtub guy.
Yeah. No, like in terms of presidency, definitely, and especially kind of in that time period, one of the more interesting ones, and like not in a bad way either. Like did some good stuff.
Before we make the turn here, back to Jason, has anyone had, what am I trying to say? Has a bottom 5 pick for anybody's board been selected yet?
No, sir.
All right.
Nope.
All right. I'm waiting for it. It's like holding on to that old maid card.
Hey, Jason, you're up.
Maybe this will be it. You know what? I just feel like I'm going to rock with the brand now, and I'm going to be go with old guys. But I'm going to take Madison. James Madison, number whatever this is, 28 now or something.
He's in my bottom 5.
He's for the older presidents. He is not a bad looking dude. Not a bad looking dude. He's short.
Broken some new ground here.
Maybe I'm
short
just into the. Sure. I'm into the short kings, maybe, which is weird because I'm not short by any stretch.
I'm
the shortest person in this conversation.
He was built like a 5th grader, 5'4", 100 pounds,
and yet had the command of the entire U.S. Army at his beck and call. That's some Napoleon-style energy, man. Which, to be fair, Napoleon wasn't as short as people like to make it seem, but
yeah. The White.Gov picture is not bad. I will say that. He definitely has composer vibes in this picture, too. He's got a real Mozart kind of look to him.
Very romantic era of composers type thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny, as I was called bougie by a coworker this week for listening to classical music while I work, I feel like, I actually texted that to John because it bothered me way more than it should have.
What were you listening to, Hans Zimmer or something?
No, I was listening to. I think it was a channel that started with Vivaldi. Okay. I told him that the Four Seasons, particularly the season Winter, is actually my favorite piece of music of all time, of any type, pop, country, whatever. I just very much enjoy classical music, and I was called bougie for enjoying classical music. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well,
I know that it's different.
I don't want to. Typically, me and Jason are on the opposite ends of the spectrum with things, but I actually had Madison 20, and if he wouldn't have been 5'4", 100 pounds, he probably would have been closer to top 15. Because of that photo on WhiteHouse.gov is just a very strong, striking photo of him.
It's a very good photo. He was actually lower on my list, but going to this WhiteHouse.gov photo, I decided to take him because there are other
looking at his
early
picture,
era presidents.
I underrated him looking at the picture. I will admit that. I don't know that I necessarily would have taken him above anyone that I have on my list, but he shouldn't have been in the absolute bottom.
But I mean, and also not, you know, not that this goes to anything, but obviously a very, very important president in terms of like the Federalist Papers, the Constitution. Was he father of the Constitution? I think, right?
Yep.
So
Mhm.
I mean,
Yes.
you cannot, diminish, and that's no pun on his height, uh, his impact on the early stages of the country. Does have, as I blow the picture up, and it's always hard to tell the painting, maybe a little of like a lazy eye situation going with that left eye a bit. But that could also just be the artist's rendering of it. I don't know how that works.
It
Like
could
when I
be.
click on it,
Yeah.
and it gets bigger. It's a little more glaring than in that small picture. But I also like. He obviously hasn't been picked yet, but I'll never forget in a play as I believe it was a second grader in elementary school. I had to play Jefferson in a play, and like my grandmother sewed me like a legit ruffle. We got like spray paint hair to paint my hair gray, like, and none of the other kids went anywhere close because it wasn't like we had a makeup department. It was like, well, whatever your mom and dad want to put you in will be it. And I like had the vest and the knicker. I killed everybody in my look, and but like that type of look to me, it's always just like I would love to go to like one of those, like if I ever got invited to a party where it's like dress up like it's the 1800s. Like there's a part of my soul that would love every bit of that, and partially
I don't think
because
I've
fat
ever heard
people
of
were
such a
seen.
party.
I don't know, like me neither. I have children. Like the only parties I go to are kids' birthday parties now. Like
I went to my New Year's party a couple years ago. Tyler also did, whether he remembers it or not.
I acted like a kid.
I believe that's where I actually met Tyler for the first time, was at that New Year's party.
I vaguely remember you,
What a
Jason.
time.
Well, it was very much like my son was very young at that point, so I believe as soon as midnight hit, my wife and I left, so we could go back to my parents' house and get the baby.
I also left at about midnight mentally.
Yeah, believe me, I talked with John to hear what happened, what transpired after I left that party, and
You could write a book about it.
I'm quite glad that I left because, and not because I'm like, oh, I'm above you guys. It's because I would have absolutely joined in with you, and it would have not been good.
That'd be a good play, actually. You only need one set. All takes place at one time. You don't need costume changes.
Yeah.
You could write it. You could do this.
I mean,
I'll get to work once we're done. Once I'm done editing,
Yeah.
I'll get to work on
but
this.
next president. We're
All
getting
right.
close, closer to the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna go way in the future compared to where we just went. I'm gonna go. I already took George W. Bush. I will take George H.W. Bush.
Take Papa.
Like I said, yeah, better looking guy when he was younger. He was kind of venturing into like grandpa territory as a president, but I don't think a bad looking guy. And like honestly, it is kind of funny to like think about like how his kind of like reputation as a president is, because like I feel like he doesn't really have that much of a reputation as far as like good or bad, because he's like kind of honestly forgettable, one term kind of.
He was there.
Yeah, among a bunch of like much more notable one way or the other presidents. But like just had a nice like solid like kind of grandpa vibes, which probably isn't a thing that most people want to hear when we're talking about how hot they are, but we are also at the 29th pick in this draft, so any sort of like charm is kind of what we're going for, I think, at this point.
I think at that point too, he's the quintessential like, have you ever seen like pictures of your grandpa when he was in his prime? Like,
yeah, actually, like my maternal grandpa kind of looks has a little bit of a George H.W. Bush look to him, as opposed to my paternal grandfather, who was just like straight up hot.
This is going to sound extremely weird. I've seen old photos of John's paternal grandfather because I believe actually in college your sister showed them to me when she
Maybe.
ran across them. And I was
That
just
sounds
like,
all right.
I mean, and to be fair, I 100% concur that he was a very attractive man.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Shout out to John's grandpa.
Yeah. Where's he getting drafted? I
Uh,
already fundamentally took his son, but
number 1 in the redraft.
I'll pick him up in free agency. Um,
for some reason that's reminding me of the Reddit meme where it's like the question's like, if you could sleep with anyone in history, who would it be?
Yes.
And
Yes.
the guy's like, I would have to choose my wife. She was just so beautiful. She was just like, and it's just so heartbreaking that, your first love and you're never going to find anybody better than that. And then the guy just replies, I would also choose that guy's wife.
Yes, exactly. Precisely.
Yeah.
Yes. One of the probably
Which I believe,
top 5 greatest Reddit moment ever.
yeah, which that guy, I believe the original poster did like that guy's comment.
He
So
did.
he was like, that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. And I'm not mad
It was in
about
good
it.
taste.
Yeah.
All right. I know Jason's not here, so you can chime in
Yeah,
with.
Jason stepped out.
Gosh.
Jason stepped out for a second, so
Man, this is getting down to the this is about to get nasty. Nothing good happens at right now. I'm going with a very terrible person here. I don't even love the pick here, but I really don't love anything else behind him. I'm going old school. I think it's so hard to judge the old guys, but I'm going Jefferson.
yeah. As soon as you said terrible person, I knew it was gonna be Jefferson, and he was also
Yeah.
next on my list. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was between him and Madison for my old guy picks.
yeah. There's just, I mean, for me, I had him as the highest rated of the first 4 presidents. But again, I think it's hard to judge those guys because you're going off of these are paintings of these guys. These aren't actual like photographs. So I don't know how much of that's actually like what Jefferson looked like. So I'm doing a lot of like reading between the lines, I guess. But no real hot takes or old takes on Jefferson. I could see it.
he's all right looking. Probably the most uncomfortable president in terms of thinking about their life with the ladies.
Yes.
And I say this is the guy that took Bill Clinton. It gets a lot worse than that. And
It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, wouldn't recommend. I think yeah, we've all taken slave owners at some point, so none of us. I mean, I took Andrew Jackson for God's sake, not exactly a beacon of goodness.
I mean,
all right, Jason, you're up though.
All right. Shoot, TJ was next on my list, and now I gotta
Wow, I guess we all had Jefferson around the same spot.
Yeah, I mean, well, I was between him and Madison with my last pick, even. So,
yeah.
So I think the next one I'm going to go to, I'll zip back forward in time a little bit, and this may be a controversial one. But I'll take Wilson.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I'm 26th.
Yeah, I
31st.
mean, again, probably won't talk about his presidency too much, but just a very grandfatherly looking dude with the big ears to match. I mean, what else to say?
But he's got glasses.
We're all about ears.
And he's got the glasses. Maybe that's the kicker for me is like you put specs on, and that really is like my thing. And like it's a weird thing because like I wore glasses as a kid, but in high school I started wearing contacts, and it hasn't been until like the last few years that I put on glasses. And maybe this is the libations talking, but the reason I wear glasses, I won't lie to you guys, is because my wife finds me more physically attractive with glasses on than in contacts. So, I mean, you've all learned something about me. All 12 of you listening to this podcast.
I mean, I have a similar thing with my wife. That's fine.
I mean, I don't care. It's not like I'm embarrassed by it. Like when I was picking out glasses, I always was like, "Oh, these look decent and they're cheap," and then my wife would be like, "No, you actually need to put glasses that fit your face." And to be fair, I look much better in glasses that my wife has helped me pick out than glasses I would have picked out on my own. Granted, this was my top choice of ones that I picked as well. The current glasses I have, but
As
yeah,
someone who has never seen you without glasses on, I believe I think your glasses fit your face very well, and I still mean this the same way. I think sometimes I forget you have glasses on, so there's that.
Not
I mean,
bad though.
no, it's.
Hey, I'm here to hype up the bros. You know, I got to gas you up, Jason.
I mean, hey, we've already talked
Thanks.
about how I have great hair
Yeah.
today, so
We're already drafting hot presidents. I think we're all plenty gassed up already.
I mean, I think if we're gonna talk like in honest truth, I think anybody we're drafting like here on out, like we're all better looking then. So
I think
Hey.
we've crossed that threshold. I agree.
Better to be gassed up than oiled up.
depends on who you ask.
Sure.
All right. Anyway, I will be drafting next. I am up next, right? Yeah. Okay, I am.
Yeah.
I'll take
Yes, sir.
I'll take Zachary Taylor.
Bottom three.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Like honestly, it's there's a certain like man in uniform kind of look there, just because he has that kind of like stoic. He's not a great looking guy. I'm not going to pretend that this is like, oh, I've really like we've gotten to the point where I'm officially dipping into my bottom half of like everybody that's left is in my bottom half, but I feel like I've disappointed Tyler so much, even though I haven't taken away one of his picks.
No strong feelings on Zachary Taylor other than bottom three for me.
Say he's definitely like I've already talked obviously multiple times about the man in the uniform thing. But he's the one that looks like, oh, war got to this guy. Again, based on a painting.
You know what? This is a very John pick here. Because I believe the story is you guys can research this later, but it's basically it was either the nomination or him being elected as president. He didn't find out for like 2 weeks because he refused to pay for the postage, so he wouldn't receive the package. So it's such a very John thing where it's like I'm not paying for whatever package.
Yeah.
Good lord, this man is actually now John's soulmate. I mean,
Yeah.
I just think about at
He's a
the
real
wedding, the
steal,
story
though.
I told about when I knew that John's wife was the woman for him, and it was literally basically about being cheap. So
Yeah.
we say this lovingly, John. You know it's lovingly.
Yeah. I will say, looking at the picture of Zachary Taylor in uniform here, he kind of does have a little bit of like military dictator vibes, if we're being honest. Like I could see him, like he doesn't look like Pinochet, but like he kind of has that sort of air to him. Like, I'm not saying like he's like lesser war criminal kind of military dictators, maybe like a Batista kind of look.
Sticking with my college football head coach comps, which is very fitting with tomorrow being week 0. He gives me Bo Pelini vibes in the WhiteHouse.gov photo.
A little bit.
So
I can see that.
shout out to the Penguins.
Yeah. Is that where he's at now? Is Youngstown State?
That's where he was last time I knew.
Oh, okay. All right,
All
you're
right.
up.
All right, Tyler.
I can't wait to just drop a bottom 3 on you guys here. I know it's coming. I'm gonna just butcher one. I'm gonna go with was it Jason's dad? Let's give me Millard Fillmore here.
Not a bottom 3.
Okay. Yeah, he was coming up for me.
Yeah, I was considering taking him next. I will say this: when I alluded to earlier, somebody whose picture on WhiteHouse.gov like jarred me versus the ones around him, it is absolutely Millard Fillmore. Because you go from Zachary Taylor to like what almost looks like could be like a modern fat Alec Baldwin.
Yeah. Well, that was
Alec Baldwin would be great if playing. Yeah, that'd be a great casting. Would be Alec Baldwin.
It would be.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I was just blown away. That's like, did Millard Fillmore like time travel for a better like photographer? Because like the lighting, the composition, like it's years beyond Zachary Taylor and Franklin Pierce, who he's sandwiched between. It's a
Yeah.
great photo of him. It really helps him out.
I mean, I don't think really like
yeah.
maybe Lincoln and then Johnson is when it like starts to catch up. It's weird.
Yeah, there are photos from like the 19 like honestly his picture looks a little bit like the same lighting as like Taft's. Like you go way
Yeah.
into the future there for
Also, Millard Fillmore was a book lover, and him and his wife fought the fire at the National Library to save all the books. They had the basically tax money go towards replacing a whole bunch of old books to be like rebound. So anybody that loves books like Millard Fillmore, I probably should have had him higher, but here we are. 26th on my board.
I don't really see a lot of Millards these days, do you?
No.
Only tiny towns in Missouri, not too far outside of where we went to college, John.
Yeah. Is that the most I'm trying to think of what's the most dated name of most dated first name of a president. It might be Millard.
It's probably Millard.
I think it's Millard and then maybe yeah.
Ulysses.
Like, Ulysses, Rutherford,
yeah.
Abraham
Grover.
even. But
Yeah.
Grover's still in the zeitgeist though because of the Sesame Street character.
Yeah.
Like you
I know-
probably don't need to.
I know that there was a period after Watergate where like the name Richard just dropped dramatically, but I think that was a temporary blip. I think it's probably not a high-end name, but I guess to be fair, there aren't a lot of Baracks. I guess that would be a fair point, but
Yeah. But it wouldn't surprise me if you start to see more of them popping up like in the Gen Alpha kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be like the like legion of people named like Jalen popping up.
Yeah. But it's also like I think that there's definitely a concentrator or just a movement of bringing back like older names. Like, I'm not going to say my children's name on this podcast because if I'm going to at least protect something, I'll protect their names. But they both have.
Yeah, that's true. Adolf is pretty out of date at this point for a first name.
Big Kentucky basketball fans, Adolf Rupp, that's who we're.
Yeah.
I will say this: my son has the first name of at least one president.
Yeah. Barack Bradshaw.
Rutherford Bradshaw. But yeah, my daughter has a very, maybe more old school name than my son, who's just kind of a very generic name, but it's,
I would agree with that.
I think it's, Woodrow would be an interesting one to come back. Like, I have a cousin whose name is Woodrow. He goes by Woody. He's a doctor now, I think. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him. He's my second cousin, but I hadn't spoken to him in 15 years, probably.
I didn't know there was a more recent Woody than like Woody Harrelson.
I mean, Woody from Toy Story is still.
Yeah. Woody Dantzler, the old Clemson quarterback.
That's fair. Anyway, should I make my next pick?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, let's do it.
Boy, we are just really getting to that point now. But I will.
Tyler, your highest ranked person, where are they ranked on your list? I'm just curious.
What do you mean? Oh, like that I have left?
Remaining left, yeah.
14.
I have my number 25 left. That's my most
Wow.
highest up one. All right.
So, I don't know. This one I think I could get some flack for. But of the remaining ones, there's just something about it. I will take the president very famously just referred to as the accidency. And that is John Tyler.
I was hoping Tyler would end up with John Tyler, but yeah, that's...
He was bottom 5.
He's a guy that, like, I mean, I know we've talked about this multiple guys, but he's got composer look hardcore, especially in his White House.gov photo. I mean, really a guy who, when you think about the actual position he was in from to become president, like, just like, I'm so excited to be on the ticket. My guy got like, oh, I'm president now? Okay. But
I will say a point in his favor is the fact that like he still has two living I think he still has one living grandchild.
Yep, 16 kids.
Yes,
Very,
including very late in life.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, but which one I will just say, good for him. For,
Yeah, I think that's when he was like in the Congress of the Confederacy. Actually, not the most illustrious of post presidencies.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like again, but like in terms of just like the look, like, and maybe it's the British royal thing. He's got a little bit of the British royalty kind of thing going as well. I think it's been bugging me in the WhiteHouse.gov photo. He reminds me very much of like somebody, and I think it's like an actor in like a particular role, and I cannot put my finger on it.
Yeah, he's reminding me of someone too. Same here, and I can't figure it out.
Let me pull up this picture and see if I can.
It's
would saying John Hurt and the Elephant Man be too mean?
Not what I was thinking of, but
no, it's like, I mean, it's bad because part of it is like his hair it's a little unkept, kind of long in the back. So it reminds me a little bit. I don't know if you guys remember the show Hardcore Pawn. That was on True TV.
Sure.
He reminds me a little bit of Les Gold, the owner of the pawn shop there. But that's not who I'm thinking of. But yeah, I think I don't know. We're at the point now where it's like we're gonna start getting into like you could probably start to pick these guys apart a little bit. But he's yeah. That's my official take.
All right.
Cool last name. About all I got.
Yeah. I mean, the coolest nickname for a president ever. The fact that people call him the Accidency, I think, is pretty awesome. It's what my parents called me.
That's rough. Keep drinking that scotch. It's going great for you. I am gonna go. All right, I'm gonna go with Chester A. Arthur.
Yeah.
Bottom 5.
I think a guy.
Not bad.
Okay.
Not bottom 5 for me.
It's the chops. The chops don't work for me, man.
The chops are rough. I actually think the chops would be better if he grew them out a little bit more. Like either have the chops or don't.
It's the indecision and the unkeptness of the chops. Like if you're gonna go full mutton chops, go full mutton chops. Or if you're just gonna keep them short, keep them short. But it just looks tacky to me.
Yeah, I think he's got a decent mustache. I think that just kind of. Fine. He's got a little bit of like a little bit of a loose jaw kind of thing going, but not a bad looking face compared to. Again, this is the 35th pick.
Yeah.
At this point, we're clearly just drafting all the presidents, right? Like it'd be very weird if we cut it off now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was sort of the assumption. Like, let's just do this through.
I think at this point, you guys are the host. I think this is about where we get into rapid fire, just to kind of get to the bottom 3. So that way we can just trash on them.
Yeah,
we get to the true uggos.
Exactly. So the guy I'm gonna take here is, we all have that person that our wives have been like, oh, he's cute, and we about give them that side eye of like, are you serious? And they just go, oh, there's just something kind of like adorable and whatever about him, and you can't really put your finger on why. I think this might be a bottom 5, and from what I've read on some posts, he does not get a lot of praise, and he's usually at the bottom. But there's something about him that's kind of cute, kind of charming. I'm going John Adams.
He's third from the bottom for me.
Yeah,
and I get it, but his skin just looks so soft in this WhiteHouse.gov photo. Like he just looks so like boyish, and it's just
yeah. I feel like the reason I didn't rank him lower is because in my head I just think of him as Paul Giamatti from the John Adams miniseries.
So hot.
Which
I've always been a Giamatti guy.
I will also recommend to. I don't know if you guys have ever read the book that miniseries is based on, the David McCullough book of John Adams. It is fantastic.
I'd like to read it someday.
Actually, right here, if I'm ever in St. Louis, and Tyler, I can bring this to you if you'd like to read it.
Please do.
Right here on my bookshelf, I have a few McCullough's books. This 1776, another great one. They're long, but
They are.
his writing style is very much as if you were in the time period and it was being written by the people in the time period. That's a very cool perspective if you've never read any of his books. So there's a recommendation for that.
I've never seen the show nor read the book, so I am totally at a loss there. I do know what Paul Giamatti looks like, though, so I'll...
Yeah,
Shout out
I
to
mean
Paul.
this is what he looks like as John Adams. John. That's because
Okay,
I actually bought the book before I saw the series, but
actually
this
a
was
pretty good-looking
recommended to
picture
me.
of Giamatti. Looks pretty good in that picture.
Yeah, like no, and the acting and he's fantastic in the series. I think you would actually
Sure.
very much enjoy the miniseries.
Terrific actor.
If you have HBO Max, I believe it's free on there because it's an HBO miniseries. So
Yeah, I do have it. All right.
All right, Jason.
all right, me. Gee. I guess I'll be the guy to do it. I don't know. Gosh dang it, I don't know.
Nobody
Like,
left that's good looking. Let's be clear.
yeah. There's nobody left that's killing it. I don't. If we're gonna go like based on just the actual pictures themselves, like whatever. I don't want to sit and talk on this. I'll take Trump. There, we're done.
He was second next on my board. I get it.
Yeah, like
2025.
he's got money. That's hot. Okay, moving on.
Yeah. That's a real Trump card. He keeps marrying models. He's got something going on.
It's yeah. I don't know. Yeah,
Right.
like we're at the point where now you're like, I don't think we're gonna be like. There's maybe one other guy that I'd be like, oh, okay, I can maybe see him taking, and I bet you
Again,
John's gonna take him here.
I'm about to take the one guy left that I had ranked ahead of Trump, so it's not exactly.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with William Henry Harrison. I couldn't
That
get
was
the
my last
premiere.
place.
Really?
so
Yeah.
he was in my bottom three. So
Huh. Yeah. Kind of dig the eyebrows, to be honest. They're pretty thick. Got a quite the schnoz, but you know
he's got
what are you gonna do?
he's got a very long face, a very large
He
head.
does.
But like
He
no
does.
neck in the photo either. He always had like super high collar stuff, so it's like I know
Yeah.
the podcast listeners can't see what I'm doing. But basically now I just look like Jabba the Hutt.
I have a joke I just thought of. William Henry Harrison walks into a bar. The bartender says, "Why the long face?" And he says, "Because I'm dying of hypothermia." That's the joke.
Just wear a coat, bro.
But I never would have had one of my previous few picks had he worn the coat probably. So we'd only have 44 to choose from and we'd have to figure out something.
Yeah, Tyler could have gotten in there somewhere.
Isn't it crazy to think though, like had he not died quickly, like do we push everything and then like one of these precedents doesn't happen and it completely shifts the course of history?
We haven't gotten to the 2 non-consecutive terms guy yet, but I have a whole lot of thoughts on that. You can save it for when he comes up, which will probably be relatively soon because, like, who else are we taking?
Yeah, I mean I don't know. I think he's coming soon, but
I am not taking that president. I have one spot ahead of him. I got John Quincy Adams.
He's my last place.
yeah,
Let's
he was
go.
he
I got
was
thing
my
for the Adams boys.
JQA was my second to last.
Yeah, the Adamses are not. That's not a good-looking family. I'm sorry, man.
Honestly, just hearing that he's skinny dipped, I mean, come on. This is the hotness rankings, right? I mean, what's hotter than skinny dipping?
Bro,
Somebody better looking than John Quincy Adams skinny dipping.
if John Quincy Adams was looking at my wife, I would be like, let's go somewhere else. Like, there, I said it.
You know what? The closer I look at it, he definitely does have. Maybe I have him way too high because now that I'm looking close, he definitely gives taking the helmet off Darth Vader at the end of the movie vibes.
God.
He looks a little David Prowse like in the. That's right. I will take any advantage to flaunt my Star Wars like knowledge. Which, to be fair, knowing that David Prowse was the guy in the suit is not that much of Star Wars knowledge, but
I didn't know it.
yeah. Who did the voice of Darth Vader? John, do you at least know that?
I do know that one.
Okay.
It's a old J.E.J. himself.
Morgan Freeman.
The dude from The
Yep.
Sandlot.
The CNN guy, yeah.
All right, John, take him. You know you want to. This is your moment.
Well, it's not John,
Oh,
it's
wait,
me.
it's not
Jason, it's
John.
up.
Ah, dang.
And I will take the blue man himself, Grover Cleveland, next.
All right.
He's not great looking. Like, we've talked a lot about, like, oh, well, this guy at least has a good mustache. This dude's mustache sucks.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's Wilford Brimley. It's just Wilford Brimley.
It is.
Yeah.
He has the diabetes mustache. So that's my take. It's because literally, I don't know. We're starting to get into real territory of just not good looking dudes. So
He did sleep around a bit as president, though, so he's got that going for him.
I mean, good for him. I mean,
yeah, not so good for the women involved, but
yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's probably a lot of presidents who slept around. We just know that he did.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, it is nonsense that he's number 22 and number 24. He is number 22. He is not the 24th president. He was one president. He's one guy. It's completely absurd that Grover Cleveland gets to have two different numbers. Franklin Roosevelt was elected 4 times, and he gets one number. That's ridiculous. My dog is jumping on me to make sure I'm okay, and I'm not okay, buddy, but thank you. I'm done.
I'm glad John got that out. He's been holding on to that for a long time.
Good Lord, you have been holding on to that one. Like, do you feel better now, John? Honest question. You feel okay?
I feel better because my dog jumped on my lap, and he's being a good boy.
Good boy, John's dog.
Right.
And
All right.
he could have been like Grover Chicago, but instead he had to be Grover Cleveland. Like, to have Cleveland twice on the presidential board is just disgusting.
Hey man, Cleveland rocks. Okay.
Didn't.
I should have gone with that as the Presidents of the United States of America song that I quizzed on the number of plays.
I mean, to be fair, I've been rewatching the Drew Carey show as it's now available on streaming for like the first time ever. It's pretty fantastic.
So good.
Are
Wildly underrated.
we officially in bottom 5 territory?
We are at the official bottom 5 of the
consensus
podcast.
Bottom 5. Yeah.
Let's go.
I am going to go with my number 34 president, according to my personal ranking. So not exactly a fan. I'm going to go with James Polk. Just kind of a squirmy looking dude. He has some real
Okay.
It's hard to describe his vibes, but he definitely seems like a guy that, like, he definitely gave the teacher an apple. Like, he's
From his
like
White House
nerd kind of look.
His WhiteHouse.gov photo looks like he's
awful.
looking about how he can seduce a woman into a corner, drug her, and take her home, and lock her up in his basement.
That might be the best looking photo of James Polk I've ever seen, too. That is...
Yeah. He's... Like, there are other guys who look worse. I'll give you that granted. But he is...
The vibes are awful.
It's straight creeper vibes, is what I get from Polk. Also, in the picture, he's got a ridiculously, like, large, either, like, you know, like the neck collar of his coat. Like, he looks like a giraffe a little bit. Like, his neck appears to be very large in the painting on WhiteHouse.gov.
I'm glad that we've gotten past the point of, like, trying to defend our picks.
Oh, now we're
like,
just going to rip guys.
This is bottom 5. Yeah.
My bottom 1 has not been selected yet, so there's that.
That's good.
My bottom 5, so we're now at bottom 4.
Bottom 4.
They're all within the last 7 picks at the end for me. So
I have 35, 38, 42, and 44 left. Some variants, but not exactly great.
Yeah. I still got So 45 is off the board for me, but I still got 44 and 42. But I'm not there yet. I'm gonna go with the guy that we're just going off of what they look like on the WhiteHouse.gov photo. This guy just looks like I guess I can say this on here. He looks literally and figuratively like a penis. I'm going with James Monroe.
He was next up on my list.
Yeah, he's got
Yay.
on the WhiteHouse.gov, like he's got like a weird jawline protrusion that creeps me out a little bit.
Yeah, not that he's good looking in other pictures, but this is a notably bad looking picture.
Yeah, like he looks, his face. This is gonna sound weird. His face looks very lumpy.
Hey, but you know what? Shout out to the era of good feelings. Very a president has shown a lot of favor by historians. So
yeah, I mean,
he had a doctrine. Yeah,
nothing against his presidency. Just I would like to go on record by saying that I'm very proud, guys, because what we have left is 43, 44, 45 on my list. So
wow, congrats. That's
impressive.
impressive.
So in that case, if I'm going 43, I'll take a man that when we had to come up with slogans for people in my junior year history class, we dubbed the man for today, and that is LBJ, the man for today.
That's the pick of the guys remaining, I think.
He's he's a guy who just, he looks like he would just complain to you about everything you did and why it's wrong and progressive. I don't know. Just the bro just looked old, and his face was very wrinkled. And
just go ahead and talk about his ears. Just talk about his ears. Here's your moment.
His ears, they remind me of my father's ears. My dad has giant ears. I love my dad to pieces. He has many qualities that are Millard Fillmore with Lyndon Johnson's ears. This is my dad. It's like I probably shouldn't say this, but this could just be the fact that bottle of scotch I brought in is now empty. As we're sitting on this podcast. So, but like my grandmother's funeral, there were obviously family pictures that were circling. There's a picture of my dad, and we all at one point just went, "Oh, no need to tell who that is," because my poor dad just had very large ears. It's like even a high school kid with like pictures, and it was. But yeah, Lyndon Johnson, not a good looking dude, but better looking than the last two. So
yes, supposedly quite hung. So you got that going for you.
Oh,
I mean, I wouldn't know what that's like. But,
I could do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously that's one thing he has in common with me. Another thing he has in common with me is he loves Fresca. So, shout out to
Fresca.
LBJ.
Word is better than Fresca.
Wait, what's better than Fresca? What is he disparaging? He walked out of the room.
Squirt is better, and sorry, the alcohol is taking a hold. I will be using the restroom. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. Squirt's not better than Fresca. That's insane. But
no.
Yeah, LBJ seems like a somewhat cool guy. I don't agree with his Kennedy killing policy, but my name's not Kennedy. My name is John, though. I'm John F. at that. So maybe I should be a little
stupid
more dubious
question.
Here.
What is the B for?
Baines.
Is that what it is? Lyndon Baines.
Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he just has a sad look to him, but whatever.
Yeah. So for my last pick, I have number 42 and number 44 left. Number 44 was a very, very seriously considered putting him in last place. But I think it's pretty fun, actually, that I have a long list of like presidents that I think are pretty bad. And now I'm going to go with the president that is probably the greatest United States president. I think certainly is a consensus pick. Go with Abraham Lincoln. Pretty ugly guy, but I think if also if we're going hotness, we'll set aside the fact that he is gross looking, because he is. I'm not going to deny that he is not a good looking guy, but he was tall. He was a boxer. Like, he's got like a physique. We're talking. We're not saying most classically handsome presidents necessarily. We're saying hottest presidents,
And possibly
and
gay.
Reportedly so.
it's possible. Yeah, I mean, it's better for me in that situation, right?
I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
like, to be
You have a
fair,
chance.
if we're gonna rate like first spouses, like Mary would be picked very late as well. I feel.
Yeah.
She would. Yeah, that would be a good man. That would be a good draft too.
Dude, we would open
would-
ourselves up to a whole new can of worms if we did that one.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
we're gonna get canceled for this one, oh my god, yeah, that'd be bad. The Nancy Reagan segment alone might just end the podcast. God.
Or the
All right,
Laura Bush segment.
Yeah. Somehow I think that would be less inappropriate, but yes. Yeah, Lincoln, pretty ugly guy, but I like the whole freeing the slaves thing, and
Same.
also big strong guy, so sure.
I like that we're going 43, 44, 45 on my list to end here. So
Yeah.
He was second to last on mine, but he very well could have been last. So
I actually had Lincoln 38. I mean, that's not a good thing, but maybe it's just me showing favor towards the tall, skinny guy. So
and he's still Lincoln. Like, you have to work really hard to take that away from him, I think.
Exactly. And shout out to Daniel Day-Lewis for ruining what I always thought Lincoln's voice would sound like.
But he supposedly had a very high pitched voice. Like that was like
supposedly it's very historically accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we still don't know. It's the same thing as like what a dinosaur sound like. But anyways,
what if it turned out that he had a strong sounding resemblance to Gilbert Gottfried?
All right, then Daniel
Score and 7 years ago. Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln, Iago the Parrot. It's the same thing.
Mary Todd.
It all comes back to Hollywood Squares because Gilbert Gottfried also at Hollywood Squares. So,
all right, let me close this out with my second to last pick, and the man, the myth, the legend, the sideburns, the whatever he had going on, who will go down as what would be a horrible start for American-born presidents, Martin Van Buren. And I just like to think
that our bottom two.
And
that
hair, though, man. That's all you have to say about Van Buren. It's the hair.
I just want to imagine like Van is actually his middle name, because I think that'd just be cool as hell. So
somebody lives fairly like decently close to Van Buren, Arkansas. Like, apparently also only 5'6".
I mean, Bernie Sanders got a lot of flack for looking crazy with his hair. I mean, if this guy got rolled out at a convention, I mean, they would be like, what corner did he get picked up on? And please take him back.
Yeah, there is not a presidential candidate in modern history that is even close to Van Buren levels of unattractive.
Well, the worst part about Van Buren, it's like that too, but like, who did he have like serious favor with? It was freaking Andrew Jackson's. Like, it wasn't like he was getting favor with like good dudes, good presidents either. Like, it's like, you're short, crazy, and you're not gonna be a good president. Got it. The little magician. Heritage. The little magician, as he was called, I believe. So,
what a name, God.
I mean, I think just ugly suffices.
I won't hold his Dutch heritage against him, because I like getting paid, so I can't really hate the Dutch that much.
I'm still pretty mad about the World Cup match, but
hey, Pochettino, baby, Pochettino.
All right, do you mean to do a quick recap of all the teams?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I did not keep track of this, so I do want to hear this.
Yeah. I'm
This
rapid
will be fun.
firing this. Jason had Theodore Roosevelt, John F. Kennedy, Benjamin Harrison, Ronald Reagan, Harry S. Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, William McKinley, George Washington, Franklin Roosevelt, James Madison, Woodrow Wilson, John Tyler, Donald Trump, Grover Cleveland, Lyndon Johnson. Team John is Ulysses S. Grant, Warren Harding, George W. Bush, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Bill Clinton, Herbert Hoover, Andrew Jackson, Rutherford B. Hayes, George H.W. Bush, Zachary Taylor, Chester Arthur, William Henry Harrison, James Polk, Abraham Lincoln. Tyler has Barack Obama, Franklin Pierce, Calvin Coolidge, Joe Biden, Andrew Johnson, James Buchanan, James Garfield, Jimmy Carter, William Taft, Thomas Jefferson, Millard Fillmore, John Adams, John Quincy Adams, James Monroe, and Martin Van Buren.
Man, my bottom is gross.
Yeah, I don't know that any of our bottoms are great.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, we should. I think whenever I go back and listen to this, I'm gonna pinpoint the part that we just are like, we've hit a wall. It's gonna be like whenever we did like the 1984 NBA draft, where like once we got past like Alvin Robertson, it's like, oh god, we have to keep doing this stupid thing, don't we?
Yeah.
All due respect to Michael Cage.
I think I might have taken the assignment too quickly, and if I listen to this podcast later, I'm like, oh no, why did I finish the Scotch bottle? I'm gonna regret things that were said on this podcast, I presume.
I don't think you've said anything too bad, but we're also not done recording yet, so you have another minute or
what?
two.
I thought Craig was shut off. Shoot.
Yeah. We are going to have to wrap this up quickly, though, because my computer charger is downstairs and I'm running low on battery.
I lost my earbuds, so the audio might get a little poor or something. So
actually
sounds pretty good right now, actually.
Yeah, you sound fine. This is why I charged my Bose, and why I invested like $19 in this microphone that I don't know has changed any of my audio quality for the last few podcasts, but I've had it.
Nice. All right, Tyler, where can people find you?
Just mostly on Twitter at TallmanTake. You'll see a picture of a guy that looks similar to Abraham Lincoln and Chet Holmgren wearing some dark sunglasses. So, new account.
That is very insulting to Chet Holmgren, but sure.
Shave the beard.
All right, and you can follow me at JohnJF125 on various things, stlbullpen.com. You know the deal. Jason, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Draft Day Dadshaw. Yeah, that's really all I do, and I'm not overly active on that. Although tonight could be a overly active night. Let's see how. Maybe we'll do an AMA to all my bot followers and see what they're dying to know about me.
You gotta. So I quote tweeted Tyler during the record because he posted a picture of himself listening to the song "Dead Presidents." Dead Presidents 2 by Jay-Z. I quote tweeted it with a screenshot of me listening to the Presidents of the United States of America. If you want to quote tweet that with, I'm not really sure what the next logical step would be.
See, the weird thing, I'll be like quote tweet, be like, I'm listening to a very good instrumentation version of "Hail to the Chief" or something.
Yeah, I'll let you get working on finding that. We'll sign off and hopefully
I'll get right on that, or I'll start playing NBA 2K on the Switch or something. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Hell yeah. All right. Bye, everybody.
See you guys.